Diesel. I did mention this yesterday, and I wanted to bring it back to the surface today to see where our Tolos stood when it comes to this issue that I have in horse racing and what happens. That's why I'm telling you, don't do the research. It's not good. I am going to go on the side of extreme on this Tuesday and tell you not to do the research because it's absolutely horrible what happens to these horses, you know, when they after they race, if you will. Welcome into Wire to Wire. He is Diesel to my right. John is training today and doing a great job flying solo on the board. Always appreciate John. If you are in the stream, give him a shout out. You see him on the bottom of the screen. But Diesel, before we dive head first into this extreme by Cole Bryson when it comes to horse racing, I already see a hashtag on the stream about Cole hates horses. I do want to start the show with some new news when it comes to the BMW Charity Pro-Am that happens every year right here in the upstate of South Carolina. The lineup of celebrities was announced today, and there are some pretty good celebrities in the lineup. Tolos, want to hear your reactions at 844-FAN-PHONE. Let's start with this one, Diesel. YouTube golf star Grant Horvat has been announced as one of the new celebrities in the 2025 BMW Charity Pro-Am. We'll get into the horses in a second, but I feel like that's a pretty big get, right?
Yeah, he's a big deal. Huge YouTube following. He's one of my favorite golf YouTubers out there. His show or his channel, Good Golf, and all the different various platforms that it's spun off of that. A lot of these guys have their own golfing channels and they come together. I think it's fantastic. I love the fact that Greenville and this tournament recognizes that they need to get younger, right? They need to bring in a class of golfers. Again, he's a really good golfer, so he's not going to embarrass the field. He's going to play a lot better than some of the other celebrities that are playing in this event. I can promise you that. So you bring in a guy with some name recognition, especially among the YouTube viewing crowd like myself, and it's a great get.
I think so as well, man. I think it's a really good get. Madcraft in the stream says, "What's up, John? Nice to have you in the stream." OG Tolo JB also in the YouTube stream today. So good to see so many of you already in the show. Other new celebrities, Diesel, include, but are not limited to, in the BMW Charity Pro-Am happening next month, Ross Butler, TV and film actor. You heard of him before?
Ross Butler. Let me look him up because I don't know that I know Ross Butler.
I don't know that I've heard of him off the top of my head.
Looking at his photo right now, no, don't know Ross Butler.
Clint Dempsey. We all know Clint Dempsey, the former USA soccer player and Furman Hall of Famer. A big get. I think that one's awesome to have the local tie, right? You also have Grant Horvat, YouTube golf star, as I mentioned. Hallie Ledbetter, social media personality. Unfortunately, I don't know Hallie. J.R. Smith, former NBA champion. Pretty big get. Former Cleveland Cavalier that won a championship in Cleveland with LeBron James. Diesel. That's a really big get for the Charity Pro-Am. Steve Smith Jr. I think we've all heard of him.
Senior. It's senior.
Steve Smith Jr. is what it says.
Sportscaster and former wide receiver Steve Smith Sr.
Oh, I don't know why I got Junior on mine.
You were looking at J.R. Smith.
Oh, maybe so.
Two-time NBA champion J.R. Smith, and then Steve Smith Sr.
Senior, not Junior, because his son's not really.
Son old enough to hold a golf club yet?
I think he played, but I'm not sure where. So Steve Smith Sr. I had that wrong on my tweet. Apologies for that. And Sean Thornton, former NHL hockey player. Never heard of him. Again, I'm not a hockey guy. I apologize, but you hockey buffs out there, I'm sure you've heard of him before. But that's the lineup. So really cool to see as the BMW Charity Pro-Am will be here next month. Diesel and I will be there as well.
That's the new player lineup. The returning lineup is awesome. As always, Anthony Anderson, comedian, TV host, Brian Bumgartner, Kevin from The Office is going to be there. Larry the Cable Guy will be at the event. We had a great time talking to this guest last year. Ryan Leaf will be at the event. Connor Shaw will be playing in this event. Let's see here. DB Sweeney, not Dabo Sweeney, but DB Sweeney.
He's an actor,
will be there.
Right, Diesel?
He is an actor. Yep. David Wells, Perfect Game 1998, 2 times World Series champion. And Vince Young will be on the course. I can't say in the house because he's not going to be in the house. He's going to be out on the course.
We did not get Vince on last year.
No.
I think you remember, Diesel. I was very adamant. That's the one that I wanted last year. Like, I wanted Vince Young. It didn't happen. But how cool is that, Connor Shaw? Yeah. That's a big get for us. You know, I mean, if he were playing in Arizona, it might not be a big deal. But for us here locally, a really big get. So we'll be live. Not sure what days or when yet, but Diesel and I will be on location for that this year. Coming up, you realize that's next month? You realize that?
God.
1 month away.
That means we've been on the air together for over a year. We haven't smacked each other around yet.
Over a year. Absolutely. 1 year down and one more to go.
Vince Young is 50% of the reason, Cole, why I'm such a huge college football fan. Like, growing up in my family, we were very compartmentalized Clemson fans because I had a lot of family that went to Clemson. Well, I went off to college at App State. I was very much compartmentalized an App State fan. Well, when that national championship game was played, Texas versus Southern Cal, that just like busted the thing wide open. Yeah. And it made me say, oh my God, this is how big and amazing this sport is.
And I don't remember many moments, and we'll get to the opening topic in a second, but I think one of the reasons last year, Diesel, when you and I were there, one of the reasons I wanted Vince Young so bad was, like, growing up, you know, you have all of these different moments that you remember, but I don't remember a moment bigger than Vince Young in that national championship game. Like, that was as big as it got. And man, to see him back, I love it. I'm excited. So the BMW celebrity. And then also one night, the Spartanburger Stadium will be hosting Cole Swindell, country artist, at Fifth Third Park. I'm sure that'll be sold out for that. So a lot of fun coming up here in the month of June. I brought this up yesterday on the show, Diesel. After the research that I did, I wanted to bring it back to our attention and the attention of the Tolos. And I really want to hear from the Tolos in this segment at 844-FAN-PHONE, 844-326-3663, just in terms of where they stand. I think it may be time to take a deeper look into how cruel of a sport horse racing actually is. Now, I want to preface by saying this might come across as a little contradictory to my hobbies, right? I'm a hunter. I hunt. I shoot and kill animals. I get that. It might sound like I'm contradicting myself, Diesel, but in 2024, there were 214 horses killed as a result of racing on British race courses, 557 abuses of whip regulations, 598 horses with racing industry passports sent to slaughter. And I saw this video online over the weekend of just how inhumane this was and what happens to these horses. And I know money is involved, but is it just me? Or because there's so much money involved, Diesel, we're okay with this? Is that what it is?
Yeah, I mean, there's $36 billion a year contributed to the U.S. economy. Just in America, $36 billion a year. The industry is gigantic. You know, I've taken a drive up through Kentucky, and if you've ever driven through Kentucky, I don't think it's I-77 through there, but if you go up basically through Kentucky into Cincinnati, the western part of the state, it's absolutely gorgeous. Yeah. The land up there, the rolling grassy hills. We stopped at the Kentucky Horse Park to look and see, you know, what was going on around there. And it's a beautiful place. There's so much money, and there's history, and there's prestige, and all this stuff. But at the same time, Cole, you're right. I mean, they're raising these horses for the purpose of our own sport and our own entertainment. And a lot of them get injured and have to be put down because of it. And because of the nature of a lot of horse injuries, you can't rehab a lot of those injuries. You just have to put the horse down. It's really sad.
It really is. We're going to get to the phone lines in a second. Again, John is running the entire show behind the board today for the first time. So he'll get that, John, on the phone lines if you'll just put his name up there in the top and hit hole ready. We'll be able to see that on our side. What was that number, Diesel, you gave there in terms of the impact it has on American?
$36 billion. $36 billion.
$36 billion.
And that was in 2023, which means it's probably grown a little bit.
You know what's interesting about that? That is, no, you're right. In 2 years, it's probably grown a lot. That is a tremendous amount of money. And there's no denying. I was talking about this, Diesel, with somebody today at lunch about this first topic, and they said it right, and you and I have already touched on it. It'll never be banned because of the number that you just said, the amount of people that contribute and spend money on horse racing every single year. It's absolutely wild how much money's spent. Look, I'm not saying that it doesn't contribute to our economy. That's a lot of money. However, while it seems like it's a glamour sport, it's not. And I think that's a big part of it, man. Like, you know what? You think it's this glamorous sport and these people are so dressed up and so pretty and so nice. And then you go look and the significant injuries to the horses, the fatalities. Racing involves striking the horse with a whip, which is constant pain, which also can result in injury. Racing Australia rules of racing require that only a specific type of whip can be used to limit that. But it is just that's why I opened the segment by saying don't do the research, because when you truly do the research of just how much pain is involved in these horses and what can happen, it's truly mind-boggling. But I guess, Diesel, that the conversation we're having right now is just a sad part of reality and society that goes to show, even though something can be inhumane or cruel, if there's $36 billion behind it, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, we tolerate a lot of inhumanity and a lot of cruelty in this country. Look at our food supply, right? I mean, you could very easily say that the way we raise chickens in this country is cruel. The way we raise cattle and slaughter cattle is cruel. Yet we all have to eat. And not everybody can have a family farm where you have, 50 head of cattle running around and you can afford to cull one every now and again. It is what it is. It's a sad fact of modern reality. Let's go to the phone lines right now and bring in Billy, who wants to talk about, I assume, horse racing. Billy, what's on your mind?
Yes.
Dewey.
Oh, Dewey.
Dewey.
Sorry, Dewey.
Anyways, I'm glad y'all brought up horse racing, because I was going to bring it up. Tom, I listened to Tom yesterday, and he reminded me about horse racing. It makes me angry. Horse racing is a load of crap, and you're right, it's inhumane. They go around, they beat the crap out of the horses before the race, and then they beat the crap out of the horses during the race, and then if the horse loses, they beat the crap out of them again. What is that all about? But yeah, the circus, they ban elephants and lions and tigers and all sorts of other animals.
Oh, my.
In horse racing, it contributes to gambling, excessive gambling, people throwing their life savings over a horse who doesn't even win the reward, because if they lose, they don't get fed, they get a spanking instead, while the jockey gets billions of dollars. It's a failed sport, and it needs to go, and PETA needs to get involved in it. Oh.
Dewey and I on the same page. How about that?
Thank you, Dewey. Who gambles? I mean, what kind of person would gamble?
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Speaking of irresponsible, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know any. What is gambling? It's just and you're right. I'm glad you brought that up about like how chickens and cows are. You're 100% right on that. It's just fascinating to me that. All the conversations, Diesel, we have about sports gambling when it comes to baseball teams and baseball players. And then we're okay as a society to invite thousands and thousands of people into this one venue where we are all going to go watch these horses race. And we're going to bet millions and millions of dollars on it. And we may or may not win our money back. But guess what? All that matters is, you just said it. There's $34 million at stake. and it makes the world go round. Not necessarily, not literally, but 34. But you said billion with a B.
Billion with a B.
That is a huge amount of money.
It's not just these, 3 races. It's not just the Triple Crown. There are horse racing tracks all over the place. There's, horse racing is huge in California. Sure. It's huge in Florida. It's gigantic in Kentucky and in New York as well. Let's go to the phone lines again and bring in Rick in Greer. Rick, what is on your mind?
Dewey just pissed me off.
Uh-oh.
They don't beat the horses before and after the races. Those horses, if you win a race or a Kentucky Derby, you got it made. You stud. You go out on the you got it made. So, Dewey, learn what you're talking about.
So, are you okay with horse racing, Rick?
Do what?
Are you okay with horse racing?
I love horse racing.
You don't think it's inhumane or cruel?
I think it's British do a lot worse to the horses than Americans. I mean, I really do think so. Because I've heard of stud horses, that, Secretariat won the Triple Crown?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah. We I mean,
yeah.
Are you asking us a question?
Some of his, he had it made. He went out on a plantation or whatever you want to call it, and he studied himself for years and years and years. I mean, Dewey, please get alive, okay?
Thanks, Rick. 1973 Triple Crown winner, by the way.
And you know what's interesting? I think Tom in Somerville yesterday, Diesel weighed in on it when we were having our overreaction Monday, and that's when I brought this up, right? Because you just there are things in life that you just don't know that you don't know, right? You don't know until you dig. And look, you're right. You said a minute ago it is cruel to a lot of things that happen, not a lot of animals. And you may be listening today thinking, man, Cole's just this big animal activist. When, look, I get it. It's just wild that there's so much money spent. Like the amount of people that go and dress up. Again, that's my biggest issue. Diesel, they make it look so glamorous, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like what was that? Mockingbird. What was that series of movies? The young adult novel. What was that series called?
I know what you're talking
crying
about.
out loud. Mockingjay.
To Kill a Mockingbird?
No, but like people would go overboard,
Yeah.
spend tremendous amounts of money to look the part, to act the part, just to go watch an event where a bunch of horses run around in circles getting smacked with whips. Hunger Games. That's what I was trying to think of. It's like going to the Capitol at the Hunger Games, right?
Okay,
everybody there is made up to the nines, and it's this fake over the top thing. And then ultimately at its core, it's 12 or whatever little dudes on horses just smacking the living crap out of the horse with a whip to make it run faster, to make it run for its life. And Rick said, horses that win have it made. I mean, yeah, they are. They're treated well, but only 3 horses win these big races every year.
Sure.
So there's an awful lot of horses that don't win that don't get treated the same way.
More horses don't get treated that way than they do. Was it To Kill a Mockingjay? Is that right?
No, it was Hunger Games, but Mockingjay was one of the Hunger Games movies.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
gotcha. It was part of the what was like 3 or 4 of them total.
Yeah, there's a couple of them.
So it's interesting. Oh, thanks, OG Tolo JB. He did say Hunger Games. Also good to see T Swizzle on the YouTube stream. Kane, Stephen Webb, JD. If I'm missing anybody, Madcraft, a lot of our Tolos on the stream and the chat comments. Good to see you there. Steven says, if Americans ate horse meat like the British, Canadians would feel the same. A horse here is almost thought of like a dog, a family pet. It's interesting.
Well, did you ever see the movie Pulp Fiction?
No, I've heard of it, though.
At the end of Pulp Fiction, they're having a conversation in the diner, and one of them says, hey, do you want to eat some bacon? He says, well, bacon tastes good. He goes, no, I don't eat bacon. They said, well, I don't eat bacon because pigs are filthy animals.
Oh.
Well, what about dogs? Dogs are filthy animals too. Would you eat dogs? He goes, no, I don't eat dogs because dog has personality. Horses have personality. So maybe if horses had less personality and were less charming animals, we would feel differently about eating horse. I've never eaten horse. I mean, I would.
Would you?
I would, yeah. I mean, I'd eat a horse. Like, let's just
horse steak.
You're not going to find a lot of places in America that are selling it, right? No. That are serving it. So you'd have to be overseas. As per this texture, you'd have to be in like Canada or Europe. If I was in a fancy French restaurant and they were offering a horse steak, I'd try it.
Man, I don't know if I could do it.
I would try it. I mean, a horse is already dead.
I know it's more mental for me, though. It's more of a mind game. I don't know if I could do it, but it's interesting. I appreciate you, Tolos, who interacted on the Hub City Spartan Burgers text line as well. Good to see Dewey, JT, and Greer. Texter says, don't do the research on the amount of cattle that go to slaughter. No, I know.
It's true.
There's a lot of, the Diesel's point, a lot of animals that are slaughtered. But
Kane asked the question, are rodeos cruel to animals?
Ooh.
I would say, yeah, some of them, not all of them. I mean, you're running the calves down, you're roping the calves, you're making them fall down on their hips. I mean, maybe they're less susceptible to injury compared to horses. I genuinely don't know a lot about rodeos. I've watched like 4 seasons of Yellowstone, and that's about the most I know about rodeos.
Have you been to one?
No, I've never been to one.
They are fun.
I would go to one. I just have never done it.
We need to get you to Ed Brown's rodeo. I think it's in August. It's is
that the one where there's signs all over the side of the road?
Yeah.
I know I've heard of it. I just never been.
They're fun, man. They really are. So
I would go.
It's a lot of fun. Well, look. The reason I brought it up, I just wanted to see where the Tolos stand. It's interesting though once you do the research.
It's Wire to Wire with Diesel, Cole Bryson, and John today behind the keys. When we come back, NBA playoff second round started last night. Cole and I have some thoughts on the Knicks Celtics game, also on the Thunder game as well last night. We'll talk about both of those next on the Fan Upstate. A wild finish last night in Boston, Cole, and the Celtics go down. Thought that the Celtics very well could dominate the Knicks in this second series, but I don't think it's going to be that easy. Not after what we saw last night. The Celtics kind of playing rusty basketball for the majority of that game. Third quarter, they started to pull away. Then they lost the lead. Then the New York Knicks came back to get it done, man. What a wild NBA game in the playoffs. Then again, Cole, these are good basketball teams, so it's not shocking. It's not surprising that the Knicks were able to mount that comeback. The shocking thing was that the Celtics just were ice cold from three.
They were ice cold, man. I'll tell you what, this was an incredible overtime basketball game, Diesel, last night. One of the best that I've watched all year, including the regular season. It was a great game. And look, New York, they got the win. I tweeted out last night after the game, Diesel, that it was a monstrous win for New York. I still think Boston wins the series. I still think Boston's going to be just fine, but here's what I took away from that game, and I told Rob Brown this morning. Boston missed 45 of their 63-point attempts in game one. Again, 45 of their 63-point attempts in game one, Boston missed. That just, number one, that doesn't happen. Number two, that's way too many 3-point attempts. They set an NBA playoff record for the most missed threes in a game. That was an NBA playoff record last night. And you know what's wild is, Diesel, they had a 20-point lead in the third quarter.
Mm-hmm.
Boston did. A 20-point lead in the third quarter. Look, New York was resilient last night, overcoming that deficit, but oh my word, how do you have a 20-point lead and just go ice cold? That's unbelievable.
How do you have a 20-point lead? You take 10 more shots at your opponent, you out-rebound your opponent on both sides of the floor, and yet you still lose the game. You find yourself in a position where you get with under 15 seconds to go or so, both teams end up attempting a game-winning shot. Both teams end up missing their game-winning shots. Here's what those sounded like back-to-back. Jalen Brunson and Jason Tatum both missing game winners in regulation.
Towns, Brunson up for the lead. Oh, man. Timeout, Boston. Timeout, Boston. With time on the clock, but how much? Strong hand, his strong way. Not a defender in sight.
Got an easy floater for the win.
Oh, he is going to be kicking himself.
A shot that he hits more often than not. An easy floater with nobody within about 4 feet of him, and he misses it. You go down to the other end of the floor. Jason Tatum has his chance to win the game, and it sounded like this.
What a look there. Weidel inbound. It's off to Tatum. The defense was there. We have got overtime in game one.
Womp, womp. That's what it sounded like.
Yeah.
You know?
Jalen Brunson was incredible last night. OG Anunoby, he had 29. Both of them had 29 points last night. So when you look at this game, it was a phenomenal performance from OG Anunoby and Jalen Brunson. However, it's like I said this morning, Mikal Bridges doesn't get near enough respect, number one. Mikal Bridges doesn't get talked about near enough, Diesel, because of the crucial, and I mean crucial still, that he had in overtime last night. They don't win that game without that steal. And Mikal Bridges, like, it's just the little things, right? You talk about doing the little things right. He was the unsung hero in that win last night, I thought Mikal Bridges was.
And this is what that steal at the end of overtime sounded like.
Inbound. It's off to Brown. Bridges there. They hold it. They drop it. It's over. The Knicks have won. What a comeback and a game one win for New York.
And we appreciate TNT for the audio on both of those clips. Look, Mikal Bridges didn't have a great night last night. He only wound up with 8 points, played 51 minutes in that ball game last night. Ended up with just 8 points. He's normally a 17, 18-point kind of scorer, but he ends up with less than half of what he averages, but he comes up big in the biggest moment.
He does. And Josh Hart last night, not nearly talked about enough on a lot of the national shows. Josh Hart was incredible last night, 14 points. Again, one thing fans, Diesel, do is that they don't watch the game. They'll look at the box score the next day. but a lot of times you have to remember, fans don't always remember that some of the guys that make the biggest plays in the biggest games aren't filling up the stat sheet. I've heard Steve Kerr say that a million times, right? Like, what are you doing to help the team when you can't hit those shots? Josh Hart had 14 last night. He was incredible. This was a great NBA basketball game last night. New York, all the credit in the world goes to them. However, Diesel, I still think Boston wins this series, but it's extended. Now it might go 7, right?
What I didn't like about that game, Cole, one big thing. Number one, I mean, just the idiot fouls that these refs keep calling still bugs me every time I watch modern NBA. There's nothing's going to change about that. So it's a me thing. I've got to get over it because those cheap, petty fouls aren't going anywhere. But I had a problem with Boston's Hacker Robinson play. Multiple times throughout that game, they put Mitchell Robinson on the line, and it's cheap. It's petty basketball. I didn't like it. There was a time that I know that I saw Jalen Brunson driving for a layup or driving for a short, jumper inside the paint, and they had to call the shot off. They had to go back and look, and Boston had hacked Mitchell Robinson before the shot went up. They're intentionally committing off-ball fouls on bad free throw shooters to keep the ball out of the hands of guys who are about to score. And that's not what basketball is supposed to be. You're not supposed to hack Shaq when he's outside the three-point line and just running down the court. He's not holding the ball. You shouldn't be able to hack a guy who's bad at free throws just to keep the ball out of Jalen Brunson's hand. I think that's petty, cheap basketball that this league needs to look at and needs to get figured out and put a stop to.
Good old Hack-a-Shaq, right?
I mean, did you see what I was talking about? And the play-by-play crew there was talking about the Celtics employing this exact same strategy in their previous series. I don't remember who it was on that team that they were committing fouls on purpose to put the bad free throw shooter on the line. I think it's lame and it needs to be stopped.
Yeah, even though I really enjoyed that game, Diesel, it was the other game that I still can't wrap my head around in terms of what happened last night with look, when you have two good teams like the Nuggets and Thunder going at it, that the Knicks Boston game last night was the game you had your popcorn out for, but then the other game, and I know you had that on the rundown as well, you don't come away from that game eating your popcorn. You come away from that game, and I know the stream, the comments, the Tolos are already talking about it. You come away from that game scratching your head. Like, what a weird way for that game to end last night. Diesel, here's my problem. I think you and I have talked about this before as well. If you're up 3, I've always been okay with fouling up 3, but that backfired dramatically last night. So what happens, or what happened, Tolos, if you didn't watch the game? At the end of the game, Oklahoma City's up 3. SGA, with a dunk, put Oklahoma City up by 3 points. They fouled Aaron Gordon, Diesel. He made his 2 free throws. After he made his 2 free throws, Chet Holmgren missed both free throws. And then what does Aaron Gordon do? Aaron Gordon makes a 3-pointer to win the game. I don't understand it. I don't understand that at all. The worst part, the absolute worst part, and I think it was a boneheaded move by the Oklahoma City coaching staff, Jokic was on the bench. You don't foul up 3 with their best player on the bench, because what does that do? That creates a dead ball situation. Jokic comes right back in the game. That was so head-scratching. I couldn't figure it out.
Yeah, a crazy finish. And, this is one of those ones that, it helps a team like the Nuggets who aren't quite as good. I mean, they lost. They won 18 fewer games over the course of the regular season than did the OKC Thunder. It puts you in a position now where you get that win on the road, and it puts you in a driver's seat to, maybe steal this series away from a better team.
And I think now, look, SGA and the Thunder are still really good. They've still got a really good shot to win this series in my mind. They're huge favorites again. However, Denver winning that first game, man, it kind of messes with the psyche of a team a little bit. Because the one thing that
makes you play tight.
It does. The one thing we've seen all season long as good as OKC has been, whenever you put a lot of pressure on SGA, as Denver did last night, they don't have the best options at scoring. They don't have the best scoring threats, Diesel, and other options in other areas of the team. Their other options just aren't the best scoring threats. And I thought Denver played them really well in that aspect. I'll also tell you this, when you look at the totality of this series with Denver and Oklahoma City, this is not a good matchup for Oklahoma City. It's not. Like, you look at the size, and I know Denver is not the same team from 2 years ago that won the championship, Diesel, but you look at the size that they present, the problems they present, not only offensively but defensively. I just watched this game last night and thought, oh boy, this is not a good matchup for Oklahoma City. I'm telling you what, man, I know Vegas still has them favored to win this series, but I'm not so sure of it. I'm not so sure that Denver doesn't win this series now.
Well, I mean, is it going to make for better basketball in the next round in the West if we were to get OKC versus? I mean, it's hard to say who's the better team in the West between the Warriors and the Timberwolves. I mean, it kind of evens things out a little bit in my mind. If you have Denver advancing, who was a 50-win team this year, you're going to put them against the 48-win Warriors or the 49-win Timberwolves. I think it makes for the most even and compelling basketball in the West, especially if Denver ends up winning the series.
Yeah, it's been a fun. The second round has presented a lot of fun matchups, and there were some good games in the first round, some good series, like the Clippers series, but there were also some blowouts. Now that you're in the second round, this thing's getting really good. And then tonight, obviously, you had two really good games last night. Tonight, Pacers are up 1-0 on Cleveland already, and then game one of Warriors Timberwolves. Like, this is good stuff, man. There's a lot of parity right now, and you're seeing a lot of good teams in the NBA. It's going to be a lot of fun. I don't know that the Pacers win back-to-back games in Cleveland tonight, Diesel, but I do think Donovan Mitchell has to step up. As good as Tyrese Halliburton's been, Donovan Mitchell has to step up and then get the popcorn out. The Tolos in the stream are already talking about it. 9:30 tonight. Steph Curry and Draymond Green versus Anthony Edwards. Like, sign me up for 20 a 20-game series. This is going to be fun to watch. These two teams are going to go at it. I think this is going to be a physical series. Minnesota's favored by 6.5 points, and I have no clue who wins. I'll be honest with you. I have no clue.
I don't know if I don't know if Anthony Edwards can get into Steph Curry's head, though, right? I mean, in all likelihood, they're going to have Anthony guarding Steph, and Steph has been around in this league for such a long time that he's probably an unflappable shooter at this point. Anthony Edwards, I mean, he's got a little bit of that Kobe in him, right? He's got a little bit of that in-your-face intensity to him that Kobe and MJ and guys like that had. I just don't know if he can rattle Steph.
It's going to be fun. I cannot wait. It's absolutely going to be a good game tonight. Two good games in the NBA. Tolos, appreciate you in the stream with the NBA conversation. Diesel, I do want to ask the Clemson baseball fans a question. And the very next segment, I see T-Swizzle on the stream. This one's for you, T-Swizzle, and the other Clemson Tigers. There are 7 games left in the college baseball season for the Clemson Tigers, Diesel. Clemson baseball needs to do blank in the last 7 games to convince us that they are a World Series caliber team. We'll get into that next right here on the Fan Upstate. There are 7 games remaining for the Clemson baseball Tigers, Diesel, in the 2025 season that started very well out in Arlington, Texas. That has, at points of the season, at times throughout the season, been one of the best seasons ever in the history of the program, reaching all the way up to the number 2 in the D1 baseball poll. They were number 3 last weekend. They've fallen to 9 now, Diesel. However, with 7 games remaining in the college baseball season, I ask a very simple question to you and the Clemson baseball fans out there, the Clemson fans in the audience at 844-FAN-PHONE, 844-326-3663. You can text the Hub City Spartanburgers text line. Clemson needs to do what? Clemson needs to do what in the last 7 games to convince you and I that they are back to the form of being that World Series caliber team that we thought they were about a month ago?
Well, they have to win tonight, and they have to win the series against Duke, right? So that's winning 3 out of the next 4 against top 25 or very close to caliber teams. Coastal's a ranked team, and Duke has won like 35 games. They're a really good team. And then you gotta sweep against Pitt. You gotta sweep against Pitt.
So win out, right?
Pretty much. You can drop one.
Okay.
You can drop one, at the very most 2. I don't want to see you losing one against Pitt. That series is at home. No, the series is on the road. Excuse me. That series is on the road. So let me rephrase that. Take 2 out of 3 against Duke, 2 out of 3 against Pitt. You got to beat Coastal. You cannot give up big run innings. You cannot give up big run games.
You might think, Diesel, Clemson fans out there might think this is a little bit of an unrealistic expectation. I like what you said. However, we're talking about Omaha, College World Series, right? Which only the really good teams make it to Omaha, Diesel. I will tell you that I don't push back a ton on your statement there of what it would have to take for Clemson to make you feel like they're a World Series team again. Mm-hmm. I'll tell you this, though. In my mind, in my opinion, in the next 7 games for Clemson baseball, they need to win out. They need to win out. In order to convince me today, not today, but in order to convince me over the next few days that this is a World Series caliber baseball program. You may say, Cole, winning out 7 games. No, you're playing Coastal, Duke, and Pitt. If you think that's too high of an expectation against Coastal, Duke, and Pitt, you have no business being in Omaha. That's just a fact. You have no business being there if you can't win out these. Win out. 7 games left. Clemson baseball needs to win every single one of them for me to be convinced, Diesel, that they're a World Series caliber baseball team.
I mean, they're going to be playing in a somewhat hostile environment tonight. And by that, I mean, it's not a huge stadium. It's only 2,500 seats at Brooks Stadium.
2,500 people.
Everybody's going to be wearing teal.
Yeah.
You're going to feel real out of place out there wearing orange in Conway tonight. It's a great ballpark. It really, really is. And as an App State fan, I am jealous.
I've never been to it.
It's a beautiful ballpark. I'm looking at photos right now.
That's nice, man.
It's a nice ballpark.
Yeah.
And
2,500?
2,500 seats.
So
it's not huge. I don't think they're doing that for. I bet you more people show up for baseball games than show up for football games at Coastal.
JD on the YouTube stream says Clemson wins by 3 runs tonight, 6-3 or 7-4. T Swizzle says win out the rest of the series. OG Tolo JB says I say they get it right and win 5 out of the next 7. He also says I say they lose tonight and lose to Duke and sweep Pitt. They'll go into the ACC tournament with 42 wins. T Swizzle says is the grass teal? No, thankfully, I don't think so. I don't think so. JT and
it should be though. I mean, come on, if you're going to do it across all the sports.
Wouldn't that be weird?
Yeah, teal baseball field,
teal turf. JT and Greer on the Hub City Spartanburgers text line says this Clemson baseball team is reminding me of the basketball team. Good before going bad. Ugh, JT and Greer. I wish I could say I disagree with you or you're wrong, but you know what? JT and Greer, that's a really interesting comparison because you think about it, Diesel, and JT's kind of right. Like it did kind of start to sour down the stretch for Brad Brownell, right? Like it did. And that's a really interesting point. Hopefully in these next 7, though, it doesn't sour like it did for Brad Brownell. I know those might be unfair expectations, but I do think in order to convince me that this team's good enough, because Diesel, I'm kind of, to be honest, I'm kind of down on them right now. I'm kind of down on Clemson baseball. If you're going to convince me you're a World Series team and you're capable of making a deep run, you've got 7 games left. Go win them all.
Yeah, they need offensive output big time over the next 7 games. 3-4 runs not going to convince me of anything. They need Cam Cannarella to turn back on, right? I mean, JD said yesterday, I think, that there's no reason for concern. They can turn it back on once they get into ACC conference play. No, you need to turn it back on now. You need to turn it back on now so that once you get into ACC play, you're not looking rusty like the Celtics did last night in game 1 of that series. When we come back, Cole, a big-time announcement for Clemson football. Big changes to the schedule over the next 12 years. What is it, and who needed it more? That conversation is next. Special announcement for Clemson football. You will now have to hear a heck of a lot more from the leprechaun of linemen because Clemson and Notre Dame just announced a 12-year scheduling deal that will start in 2026 and run all the way through 2038. Welcome into Wire to Wire. He's Cole Bryson. I'm Diesel. We got John right across the way from us as well. He's running the board. He's learning things. You're going to hear John on this station a lot over the next couple of weeks and months. But Cole, the series is set. I do wonder who needed it more, Clemson or Notre Dame? Over the next 12 years, again, they're going to play every year. For the next 12 years, this will overlap and essentially replace the already 5 previously scheduled matchups that Clemson was scheduled to have against Notre Dame through 2037. But this is a big deal. This puts a marquee opponent on Clemson's schedule every single year when in a time when, you know, the other marquee matchups, I'm talking about the LSUs, the Georgias, the South Carolinas, etc., could be going away in the near future.
You know what? It helps if you turn your mic on, by the way.
It
know
does.
what, Diesel? I'll tell you this. It's fascinating to look at the few times these two teams have actually played each other. It's just not a lot. Number one, I agree with you. It is a big deal. You ask, who does it help? Who does it benefit more? You know what? I've been thinking about that today. What's interesting is right now, and my mind may change later, but right now I've landed on, I think it helps them both tremendously.
Yeah.
I think they both desperately needed this because you look at it from the Clemson standpoint, we all know what the ACC is, right? Year in and year out, they have South Carolina on their schedule, and then you throw in like a year in 2025 when they're playing LSU. There's no doubt they need this game every year. And then from the Notre Dame perspective, Diesel, you look at what they do play, it's a basically, you know, a copycat ACC league. I think both teams right now, because it's not really a league, they're not in a league, I think both teams equally needed this. This is a good relationship. I like it.
I think it builds in some assurances to Notre Dame's schedule.
Mm-hmm.
This year, pretty tough slate for Notre Dame. They'll go on the road, play at Miami in the opening game. They'll play Texas A&M in South Bend. They play Purdue in South Bend. On the road at Arkansas. Number 24 Boise State coming to South Bend in October. NC State is on the schedule. USC is on the schedule. Boston College, Navy, Pitt, Syracuse, and Stanford. The problem for Notre Dame, and again, it's every year the schedule is going to play out just a little bit differently. Their schedule is very, very front-loaded this year. They play a gauntlet up through about October 4th. So the first month and a half of the season, and then after that, they still have NC State and USC, but then they have a bye date, BC, Navy, Pitt, Syracuse, Stanford. So if the season does not go well through the month of October for Notre Dame, they have no recourse and no ability to fight their way back in unless they just go out there and trounce everybody, right? You got to come out of that first 7 weeks with only 1 or 2 losses and then hope that there's a lot of chaos around you. If they build this into the schedule late in the year for Notre Dame, this is a huge, huge addition for the Irish.
What if this game, and this is going to sound outlandish, Clemson fans are going to get mad at me, but what if this game replaced South Carolina?
It could.
And why.
That's the problem. Yeah.
You've got the SEC who wants to go to 9 conference games?
Yep.
What if 5-10 years from now, Diesel, you're playing Notre Dame at the end of the year, and South Carolina doesn't have the room on their schedule to play you?
This feels like it's ripe for the state government to get involved, right? I mean, we've had gentlemen's agreements now for decades that Clemson and South Carolina will play the in-state FCS schools, but that's all it's needed to be was a gentleman's agreement. Well, what if South Carolina says, "Hey, we'll keep playing Furman, we'll keep playing the Citadel, but sorry, Clemson, we can't put you on our schedule anymore."
Man. There's a lot of Clemson fans today who are happy about this, but this could be damning.
Yeah.
This could be really bad down the road if the SEC were, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but like if they were to go to 9, you would got a conversation to be had.
You would hope that the SEC office would give South Carolina enough leeway to continue scheduling this series, because it's wildly important to them, just like it's wildly important to the Clemson side of this rivalry as well. It would be a tragedy of college football in the magnitude of Texas not playing Texas A&M for a decade and a half. Yeah. If it were to happen, nobody wants to see that rivalry go away, especially now that South Carolina seems to be on the up and up. They seem to be getting hot, finally getting back to the point where this is kind of a 50-50 tilt when they're playing each other. I mean, it would be a tragedy to see this thing go away. But I mean, look, it's a great get for both Clemson and for Notre Dame. Clemson desperately needs quality opponents during its regular season. I'm sorry, you can't get by beating up on little old App State 66-20 anymore. You need to have a marquee matchup like Notre Dame to add another one. Now, I mean, would it behoove Clemson to start mixing in other big marquee out of conference matchups? Yeah, it would certainly behoove them, because the ACC is not doing them any favors at all. Virginia Tech stinks. Florida State stinks. NC State stinks. You know, these teams that were supposed to be good, the ones that were supposed to be quality opponents on your schedule, have not played out to be quality opponents over the years.
So we all know that Clemson plays South Carolina annually, but they also have future home and home series scheduled against LSU in 25 and 26, Georgia in 2029, 2030, 2032, 2033, and Oklahoma 2035 and 2036. Going back to what I just brought up, a 9-game SEC slate, Diesel, could put some of those future matchups in jeopardy that have already been agreed upon. If you are absolutely telling me that without a doubt Clemson and South Carolina are going to continue to play, well, that puts those potential future matchups with Oklahoma, LSU, Georgia, all those really good matchups from the SEC in jeopardy, because it's just a math equation now. Something has to be in jeopardy, whether it's the Carolina game or whether it's one of these other SEC games down the road. When you see them go to 9 games, automatically something's going to have to get cut.
The better question is for Clemson fans, and we want to hear from you, 844-326-3663. That's the call-in line. It's also our Hub City Spartanburgers text line, 844-FAN-PHONE. That's phone spelled with an F. Is it worth it to you to lose out on the LSU series, to lose out on the Georgia series and the Oklahoma series to play Notre Dame every year? Because that is probably the real trade-off here. Is it worth putting Notre Dame on the schedule every year to get rid of LSU, Georgia, and Oklahoma?
Texter on the Hub City Spartanburgers text line at 844-FAN-PHONE says, what are y'all talking about? Clemson starts out with top teams every year. Look it up. You're right. They did play Georgia in 2024.
Play is a strong word to describe that.
But the problem with that is not every year. They started off in 2023, Texter, if you remember correctly, and Durham, North Carolina on Labor Day, and lost 28-7, couldn't score against Duke. So let's not act like it's every single year. You lost to Duke. The year before that, 2022, you beat Georgia Tech in the opener, also on Labor Day in Mercedes-Benz Stadium. 2021, you played Georgia, so 2 of 4 years you played Georgia to open the season. But 2020, you opened the season against Wake Forest, right? Wake Forest is no great team. 2019, you opened the season against Georgia Tech. Like this argument of by the way, Diesel, 2018, they opened the season against Furman. So no, it's not every year. 2017, you ask? They opened with Kent State. Kent State. So no, Texter, it's not every year. 2 out of every 6 years, Clemson played really good teams. I'm with you. A lot of times they do start out with really good teams like they're doing this year with LSU. Now, that might not always be a good position to take based on what happened last year with Clemson, right? But no, you saying they always start out with tough teams. That's inaccurate.
JD says Notre Dame needs to join the friggin' conference. JD, if they haven't done it yet, it's not going to happen, right? I mean, for years we've been saying, oh, this is the thing that will force Notre Dame into a conference. This is the thing. If they haven't found a compelling enough reason to do it yet, they're not going to do it. They value their independence so much that no matter how much money you throw at them, no matter what TV deal you throw at them, no matter what schedule you can offer them, they don't want it. They want the ability and the independence to do their own thing. So Notre Dame ain't joining a conference. As much as we complain about it, and the fact that the 12-team playoff, and when it happens, when we go to a 14-team playoff, they're building in opportunities for Notre Dame, essentially slotting in opportunities for them to be the independent team that gets in. They're going to get into this playoff most of the time. And Notre Dame, let's be real, has about as easy of a path to the conference, to the tournament as anybody, to the college football playoff, because they have a spot essentially there for them. They just have to not screw it up.
You know what? We also, Diesel, need to talk about this aspect. When you look at implications, not just on the field, but Notre Dame, we mentioned this, they are now ensuring that marquee matchup every year with Clemson as an independent. For Clemson, it's an annual game against one of the biggest brands in college football. However, think about this. From a ratings standpoint, this is going to be a big, big boost. This is going to be a lot of juice for the TV ratings, Diesel, when the ACC begins a new era in which revenue is distributed in part based on TV ratings. So
that's true.
You're looking at Clemson and the ACC, who needs all of the revenue they can get. We know that NIL is a factor, but when you look at TV ratings, this is a big part of it because, you know, the TV ratings against Wake Forest on a Saturday at 12 o'clock, they're not cutting it.
It's smart.
This is a big boost.
It's smart for Clemson to stack the deck like this and schedule this marquee matchup because they know that Notre Dame has a gigantic fan base who will tune in and watch. They know that this game will be on national television every single year, so it stacks the deck for them to get the largest chunk of that money when the ACC starts distributing things that way. I mean, you look at this series, Cole, just on its surface by itself in its own little bubble. Clemson Notre Dame has been a heck of a series the last couple of years. You go back to 2015, the Hurricane game, the Dabo Swinney, bring your own guts.
It ain't always perfect, but what I told him tonight was, listen, we give you scholarships, we give you, stipends and meals and a place to live. We give you nice uniforms. I can't give you guts, and I can't give you heart. And tonight, hey, it was BYOG, bring your own guts.
Man, what a simpler time. Dabo saying we give you a room and board. We give you meals. We give you nice clothes to wear. You should be happy with that. Now nobody's happy with that stuff.
We give you $2.2 million.
Yeah.
I was at that game.
I was there too.
I remember being wet for like 6 days out.
It was awful.
I mean,
you think
gosh.
I don't know. I mean, you're a hunter, so I imagine you probably have better rain gear than I have.
A little bit. Not
but
much.
like I saw dudes out there dressed like the Gorton's fishermen in like the yellow rubber slickers, and they were soaking wet as well.
This sounds crazy, and I did this. It's actually not for your not for your health. You might get a cold, but if it's cold outside. But like if you're not wanting to carry 46 pounds of wet clothes out, just take everything off as much as you can. I was shirtless for like the whole second half. It's cold. It wasn't tremendously cold that night. It wasn't like freeze. You know what I mean? Like it was still mild outside. You're just a lot better off if you're shirtless rather than you've got 8 different layers on.
Is that your strategy when you're in the woods too?
If
you get rained on in the woods?
I've hunted in the woods shirtless, yes. I've hunted September when bow season comes around and it's still 92 degrees outside. There are days I have been. Yeah.
I'm going to need to compare your hunting schedule with Yeti sightings in South Carolina to see if maybe somebody confused you with a Yeti.
Yeah.
Because you might be a hairy dude under there. I don't know.
Oh, that's
I've
true.
never seen
that's
it.
a good point.
But no, these two have put together some really good games. That Hurricane game, Clemson went on to have a playoff appearance after that. 2018, Clemson, whooped Notre Dame's ass in the Cotton Bowl. They won the national championship 2 weeks later. 2020, you had the double overtime game with DJU. The one time in his career, DJU looked like the beast that we all thought he was going to be. Amari Rodgers, Cornell Powell, all those guys were great in that game as well. You've had some big-time marquee matchups. So, Clemson fans, if it happens, if you end up losing the Oklahoma, Georgia, and LSU, the back half of the LSU series because of this Notre Dame series, don't feel bad. Like, you shouldn't feel like you're getting ripped off here.
Texter from the 341 says it only helps Clemson and hurts Notre Dame. Clemson's on the decline. Opposite for Notre Dame. Clemson will be a cupcake by 2028. Stop with the SEC talk. Those wouldn't be good games. They'd be App States, but Clemson losing by 46. I don't know, but it sounds like the 341 may be a South Carolina fan here. I'm just throwing a dart at the dartboard, Diesel, and seeing if it hits. Might be a Gamecock that says calling for Clemson number one. They're on the
I mean, we'll find out here in a couple of months, right? When they face LSU, we'll find out. Everybody's given this Clemson team its flowers early at this one. Josh Pate even picked him as his national champion pick.
I did too. About 3 months ago, sitting right. I don't know if you remember this or not. We were sitting in this studio 3 months ago, right after Ohio State won it. And I told you that I was picking them to win it all, and you about fell out of your chair.
I don't have that kind of faith in this team.
Yeah,
I don't have this. I mean, look, LSU's a real they got to beat LSU to start. They got to beat Garrett Nussmeier and a really old, experienced LSU team to start the season. If they win that game, I mean, you never know. This they could go on and have a magical season. But if they get their asses handed to them the way that they did against Georgia this past year. Oh, man, you could say, Dabo, this is the best team you've had on paper in almost 5 years, 10 years almost, and you still got curb stomped by an LSU team. Maybe it's time that you rethink what you're doing.
And that's a big part of it. In January, I saw what Clemson had returning, and I made a bold prediction in January to pick them to win it all in 2025. This season, if you will, this upcoming season. I know it's bold, and they may start to become a little bit more trendy, but they're just, when you look across the landscape of college football, man, they're going to be as heavy offensively as anybody else. Texter says, nope, I'm actually a Clemson fan, but our fan base is delusional. I just don't know that you can say the fan base is delusional when you said they're on the decline a few rough years, but your team made it to the college football playoff.
But, hey, I do appreciate if Texter's telling the truth, and got to assume that you are, I do appreciate a Clemson fan who's willing to be critical of his own team.
Yeah, you need that. But I just, on the decline, are they what they were? No, but I don't know. You make it to the college football playoff. I just don't know that I can say you're on the decline.
I mean, this year they could end up being a lot better than they were last year, and we'll maybe set up to have the best team that they're going to have for a while, because this is Cade's last ride.
Let's talk to one of our absolute favorite on this show, home team Brandon Leak from 680 The Fan in Atlanta joins us next to talk Atlanta Falcons, to talk Atlanta Braves. You've heard him here before, and you'll hear him here again next. Time to talk a little Atlanta Falcons, a little Atlanta Braves right here on the Fan Upstate. So good to be with you. Welcome into Wire to Wire. He's Diesel. I'm Cole Bryson. On this Tuesday afternoon, we talk to one of our absolute favorite guest, friend of the show, home team, Brandon Leak, 680, the Fan in Atlanta, joins us to talk Atlanta Falcons, to talk Atlanta Braves. And Brandon, it was a very, very defensive-heavy draft for your Atlanta Falcons. From what you've heard on the radio over the past few weeks, do you feel as if Falcon fans across the state of Georgia and across the country are pretty much satisfied with what the Falcons did in the 2025 NFL Draft? Brandon, you got us?
I got you. How are you guys doing today?
Yeah, we're doing great. Sorry about that, Brandon. We're breaking in a new producer today, so we're getting everything squared away. But I think we're good to go now.
We've all been there before. It's already doing a great job. Don't worry about it. That's
did you catch my question, or do you need me to repeat it for you?
I need you to repeat it for me.
No problem. Look, when you look at what the Falcons did, it was very, very heavy in the defensive department in the 2025 NFL Draft. From the Falcons fans that you guys have heard from on 680, the Fan in Atlanta, what's the overall sentiment in terms of grading what the Falcons did?
Well, there's a diverse and wide-ranging slew of opinions for people who were saying for generations, finally, we got not just one pass rusher in Jalen Walker, but two, even though it cost you a lot of draft equity. Hallelujah. For people who are believers in value, there's a wait a minute. You don't give up first-round draft picks when you had a slew of guys you could have taken in the second round who might be close to what you were able to get out of James Pierce Jr. And then there were some people who thought it was a complete overreaction, and the Falcons gave up too much to get two draft picks that were in the first round that are edge rushers. So I've seen everything. Look, we're not going to know what the draft grades are until 3 years from now, but everything from A- to C- based on your opinion. My opinion is they got exactly what they needed. And, I am able to be okay with it. Sure, you don't want to give up a first round pick next year, but you don't know what that first round pick is. The Falcons should be planning to go to the postseason. So that first round pick should be in the 20s anyway. And when you're talking about building a franchise, the defense has needed a pass rusher the last 5, the last 10, the last 15, the last 20 years, where the Falcons have posted the worst sack numbers over that time span. I don't have a problem with it because you got two guys that you needed in the draft this year. And if they both work out, well, you know what? Next year's pick, you got them this year. And that's the way I look at it.
Brandon, if one or two of these guys work out, that's great for the Falcons off of the edge. But the interior defensive line, all the draft analysts that I read said the Falcons are still in a tough spot when it comes to that interior defensive line, being able to stuff the run up the middle. How do you feel about the Falcons' ability to do that? And, how are they going to go out and try to rectify that situation? If you look at the cap numbers, we talk on this show a lot about the Panthers' cap numbers being so bad. Well, the Falcons are far worse off than the Panthers are when it comes to how much money they have to go out and spend.
Well, yeah, I think that was part of what went into the draft, that you had to weigh what you were going to be able to get or not get in free agency, juxtaposed with who's sitting right in front of you with your last chance maybe to get first round talent that could last you 5, 6, 7, 8 years. So the people who say there's a problem with the defensive line, they're absolutely right. You lose Grady Jarrett in free agency, and so you do have a big hole and a dearth of being able to have some biggins, and that is just going to have to be a situation where the guys you drafted last year are going to have to step up this year. You had some injuries. Brandon Dorlus was drafted last year. Rook Arororo, who was supposed to be the heir apparent and replacement for Grady Jarrett anyway, is going to have to step up. You would like to have Grady and Rook Arororo playing next to each other, but it's going to have to be Taquan Graham and some veterans. You're going to have to pick some bodies up, but the Falcons were not great in stopping the run at all. But I think what they're banking on is Jeff Ulbrich now having more pieces and more talent to work with. Maybe those are things that can work around. And you know what? If you're able to knock the quarterback around and get more sacks, maybe third and longs, you'll have an advantage where you don't have to worry about third and shorts if you're able to get your sack numbers up to where you'd like them to be.
Brandon, we always talk about projects, and we asked Dan Morgan, the general manager of the Panthers, about this last week on the show when it comes to what the Panthers did in the 2025 NFL draft. Do you feel like the guys that the Falcons got are good enough to immediately step in? Because according to some of the statistics out there, you're talking about one of the worst teams in the NFL last year when it comes to putting pressure on the quarterback at times. Do you feel like these guys are projects or maybe difference makers enough to where they can be immediate impact kind of guys?
Oh, no, they better be starters. Jalen Walker certainly is going to be a guy who's going to be starting. His versatility, I think, is going to help him get a lot more snaps than James Pierce Jr. But James Pierce Jr. was a guy who started to fall after the combine. We started hearing things about, character issues and work ethic and want to. But if you look at his statistics over the last 2 years in college football, he had one of the highest pressure rates in all of college footballs of anybody who played. So the talent and the ability to be a starter in the NFL is clearly there. It came down to question marks, what people were saying about him at Tennessee, and if he's a guy that can keep his head locked in. Look, Terry Fontenot, who's the general manager for the Falcons, he is going to be on deck this year. These guys both have to be starters and both have to produce, or moving into the future, if the Falcons don't make the playoffs this year, he could be looking at a situation where he could be out of a job. And so I think some of this may have had a tinge of desperation, but it's also planning and plotting to make sure that you are right at picking starters and picking guys who can get your sack numbers way up from where they've been over the last 2 decades.
Talking to home team, Brandon Leak, 680 The Fan in Atlanta. Make sure you look him up on Twitter at Home Team B Leak. Always appreciate your time every time we get a chance to bring you on. We haven't brought you on since the draft and since obviously the situation with Jeff Ulbrich. You brought up his name and Shedeur went down, leaving his iPad out. His son Jack's getting a hold of the burner phone number that Shedeur was supposed to answer. Do you think it was fair the way the NFL handled this? A $350,000 total in fines, some of it going to the Falcons, some of it going to Jeff himself. It feels fair to me that Jeff was penalized, but the Falcons, that one's got me kind of scratching my head a little bit.
Well, I think fair, yes. I think if it happens to other people and other teams the same way, then that's where fairness certainly will be displayed. I think it's beyond a prank call to Shedeur Sanders or to someone that was headed to the NFL draft. Now, let's not overlook that. It's cruel and diabolical, no matter what you think about somebody, that somebody who's worked their tails off their entire life to have a special moment where you can only have it one time. Either you're getting drafted or you're not. Have somebody basically destroy and taint the moment because they want laughs, likes, and clicks on their social media pages, really is diabolical on one end. But I think it's bigger than that. It's more of, this is about sensitive information being disseminated to people and getting out publicly in a $1 billion industry. These are $1 billion franchises, and this is a $1 billion entity with the NFL. You can't have sensitive information getting into the hands of youngsters. So I saw Jeff Ulbrich's eyes in the presser, and what I saw was a man who was pained. He was pained because he was tremendously embarrassed. He does not want to be a distraction. He only wants to make it about football. He's a former NFL player and a football man. And then he's pained on the front of being a father who had a son do something incredibly cruel and stupid. But if he had to pay $250,000 so that his son didn't have to be publicly shamed, you can see he would be a man that would rather do that. So it was a man who was pained. But yeah, I think it was fair. And I think it just goes to show that protocols need to be tightened up. And I think moving forward, you're going to see some changes. It doesn't make any sense that a defensive coordinator would have the phone number of a quarterback anyway. And the fact that everybody who's on the staff should have that number, in my opinion, the owner, the general manager, and maybe the head coach should have those numbers. And that should be it moving forward as you try to tighten up security protocols moving forward.
Brandon, if you are at a work function or a dinner event, a big banquet, and you're sitting there with your girlfriend or wife, and you see some of your exes around, maybe with some other guys, you're focused on what you did, but at the same time, you're also peeking around, right, to see what the X's are up to. When you look around the NFC South and see what the Panthers and the rest of the division did in the NFL draft, where do you stand?
I think the Panthers did a really good job. You can see Adam Thielen sees the end of the tunnel. So, getting a wide receiver to replace him, and you already have a wide receiver you take it with a quarterback who looked like he had his coming out party at the end of the season, especially that last game against the Atlanta Falcons where the Panthers win in overtime. The Saints, they are in such a bad place right now. They are focusing, I think, on a tank season, whether it's intentional or not, and just have to deal with getting the first or second pick in the draft next year. And, I think it was par for the course for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They have been the class of the NFC South, and overall what they were able to do was just stay the course. So I think the Panthers, and if it wasn't the Falcons who did win the NFC South draft, the Panthers certainly should be proud of what they did. I think we're going to get a competitive 3-team race. I just think the Saints are so far behind.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on with Derek Carr and the quarterback situation, and their cap situation is so messed up. They're going to be the team that's going to be the last to catch up for the other team, and for the other teams in the NFC South to be ahead of them.
Brandon, I saw your video from Saturday drinking a mint julep inside the Braves Stadium during a rain delay. I'm not sure there's a better place to have a drink like that in a rain delay. I just want to know from you, what is your go-to bourbon? I know you probably didn't have a choice at this particular event, but do you have a go-to number one bourbon?
Well, I mean, you can always find a Basil Hayden, or you can always find a Maker's Mark somewhere in the city of Atlanta. A great bourbon bar that we have inside of Truist Park. So why not? I couldn't make it to the Kentucky Derby. What's wrong with a little mint julep during a 3-hour, 6-minute rain delay? Probably should have had more than one with the latest start in the history of Truist Park when the Dodgers came to town. But nothing wrong with a little Basil Hayden, nothing wrong with a little bit of Maker's Mark, in my opinion.
It's interesting, Brian, that I was asked this morning where I stood as a lifelong Atlanta Braves fan, where I stood on the team on the 6th of May. We've seen a pretty good enough sample size in my mind to really formulate an opinion. I also joked this morning that I hit the panic button in the first 2 weeks, so my panic button pressing time has expired. I'm not allowed to hit it anymore this season. But do you feel as if this Atlanta Braves team does indeed have a plan going forward if they can keep their head above water and not get too far back, 6.5 or whatever they are now in the NL East? Do you feel like if they can just keep their head above water, all could be okay once they get their horses back and maybe get to, past the All-Star break?
I think so. I think this is what they've proven to be is they aren't great. They aren't terrible. They're a good team. They aren't as bad as that 0-7 start. And after the Dodgers beat them 2 series, they aren't as good as an elite team like the Dodgers. Now, when Ronald Acuna Jr. comes back, and if Spencer Strider can get back and stay healthy, I think that's going to be critical. Then you can see if you can make a gigantic leap. But I think they've done a great job of keeping their heads above water. It was the bats at first. Now the bats have come around. Now you have to see if the pitching can hold up. A.J. Smith-Shawver, going 8 innings of one-hit baseball and a shutout last night was certainly a good sign. Hopefully he gets a chance to stay up. Chris Sale, he was dominant last year's Cy Young Award winner, but his velocity is down. There's question there. Bryce Elder, who has given up a ton of home runs the last year and a half that we've seen him now, has been able to go 5 and 6 innings and help try to protect the bullpen. So I think the questions are going to be about pitching and how the pitching rotation is going to hold up. But right now, the Braves are good. They aren't great, and they aren't bad. And if they can just hold their horses in place, see if Ronald Acuna Jr. can help out big time when he gets in, hits the ground running, I think we can see truly what they are. And I think a big addition has been Alex Verdugo leading off in Ronald Acuna Jr.'s spot. He has done a phenomenal job of helping the Braves set the table.
How much does it concern you, Brandon, in Matt Olson's slow start? He hasn't really been tearing the cover off the ball. Not that you could say that, like you said, anybody is tearing the cover off the ball for this team. Michael Harris II, he's still kind of lagging behind where the Braves want him to be. Matt Olson, he had that inside the Parker, but it was obviously in a really odd situation, and obviously we hope for the best for the Reds left fielder there. But who concerns you most as far as still not really being back up to form?
Well, Matt Olson is the guy. Austin Riley got off to a slow start. He's been able to get out of that. Marcelo Ozuna got off to a great start. Now his bat has gone a little bit cold, but he's still a threat to draw a walk. So his on-base percentage can still be high. I think it's Matt Olson. He is supposed to be Freddie Freeman. They made the choice. We're not negotiating, or negotiations didn't go the way we wanted to with Freddie Freeman. So Matt Olson is our Freddie Freeman. And right now, he is not that. He has to, I don't even care if his average is there. He can bat 245 as long as he's knocking in the runs, but he's not knocking in the runs. So hopefully as we get closer to summer and things start to heat up, he'll find a good groove, but he's got to pull his part, because in different stretches, Marcell Ozuna has, Austin Riley now has, you got to figure Ronald Acuna Jr. will, and we have to have Matt Olson as Braves fans get it going if this wants to be a complete team.
You know what we've seen? We were talking about this yesterday. We've seen Atlanta try it in different ways, from being the best team in baseball throughout the portion of the season, Brandon, and hit the cover off the ball, and then get to the playoffs, right? And just maybe it's the layoff, whatever it is, just not be able to perform. Maybe, just maybe, and I don't know, you have a lot more Braves fans in your audience than we do, being right there in Atlanta, but could you convince, as a award-winning, one of the best sports talk show hosts in Atlanta, could you convince Braves fans, if the end result is better this year than how the beginning of the season started, could you convince Braves fans that this route they took this year maybe isn't the worst route to take?
I think there's a conversation about that. I think, though, how long do windows stay open?
Yeah.
How long are you going to be in your power band? And this is a good window for the Atlanta Braves. Still trying to figure out how to, settle the pitching staff, because you get one guy who's your ace and then you move on. We had Max Fried and you had Charlie Morton, and now that's evolved and morphed into Chris Sale and now hopefully Spencer Strider. So you're in a good power band. How long does it last? And there's no guarantee that you're going to catch or beat the Mets. Surely they'll go into a slump at some point. There's no guarantee you'll be better than the Phillies at the end. And the fact that you've gone out of the postseason in the first round early the last 2 years, you don't want to waste golden opportunities if you have them. And so I think the lesson we've learned, you can lose Ronald Acuna Jr., you can lose players, and it could impact you, but you can lose Ronald Acuna Jr. and you could win. You have to seize on the opportunity. And I don't know how many of the let's pat ourselves on the back because we got off the decks we have. At some point, another NLCS and World Series appearance will be required for this to be a successful run for this version of the Atlanta Braves.
My last question for you here, Brandon. We saw yesterday that the number one quarterback in the 2026 recruiting class, Jared Curtis, has committed to Georgia. It's hard to say that Kirby Smart is going to take Texas stepping up and putting out $40 million of NIL money lying down. So in your mind, does the SEC still run through Athens, Georgia, or is it as wide open as it's ever been?
I think until you beat them, the answer is yes. They keep going to the SEC championship game, and they're the defending SEC champions. And obviously, as the college football playoff continues to be tweaked and seeding continues to be tweaked, they'll have to earn their spaces, and they just can't write off the rep of winning those titles a couple of years ago. But, they won the SEC title losing their starting quarterback the final play of the first half. Carson Beck didn't get to finish that game. And so enter Gunnar Stockton, and now you enter, Jared Curtis, who comes in as the number one ranked quarterback in his class. Kirby Smart was able to do that with Justin Fields, and Justin Fields didn't stick around. So the question is, can you get him to stick around? Will there be a proper ascension for him to be groomed, coached up, and will he be coached up and ready to play for Georgia when that time happens? Or, like we see a lot of teams, are we going to have to see another quarterback that they get as a transfer to be the guy when it's time for the next quarterback to take the reins?
Brandon, you're the absolute best. We always appreciate your time. Our audience loves you as well. We'll do it again soon, man.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Brandon.
Absolutely. He's the best.
At Home Team B-Leak is where you can find his work. Make sure you look him up. When we come back, Cole, we're going to have a very short segment here, but I want to ask you an odd question that more than 50% of Americans would give up years off of their life to achieve. We'll find out from you if you would do the same. That's next on the Fan Upstate. Cole, I've said for a long time that we have a problem in this country of people getting so attached to their pets that it causes them to do weird and strange things.
You don't say.
Yeah. I mean, people will go tremendously in debt if their pet is sick, and I get it. You love your little cat, you love your little dog, and you want to see him healthy, but at some point you just got to make that decision. Like it's not worth it anymore. But I just found this online earlier today, and I want to see from the Tolos. I already know your answer, Cole, because we know that you hate dogs. But 56% of Americans would shave years off of their life to add years to their pets' lives. Again, this is one of those philosophical questions, right? You can't actually do that. You can't I couldn't pull essence out of me. Wait, I don't like the way that sounds. I don't want to pull life out of me and give it to my dog. You can't do that. But if you could, Cole, kind of like, if I've got a new iPhone and you've got a new iPhone, we can touch tips on our iPhones and it'll transfer power back and forth. It'll transfer contacts back and forth. Would you, if you could, take time off of your life to add time to your pet's life?
No.
That's pragmatism in action right there. That's pragmatism. You can always get another dog. You can always get another cat. You can't get another life.
Yeah.
But people go nuts for their pets. It's crazy.
I just don't you're right. They do. I will say this. Pets are amazing.
Yep.
Even though there's a theory out there that I hate dogs, because I think it all started with, was it Kirk Herbstreit's dog? I think that's where it stemmed from. When I said,
get that dog out of here.
I don't want to see the dog on college game day every Saturday. I don't care about the dog, right? And now Tolos say that I hate dogs. It's okay. I don't hate dogs. I love dogs. Now, I will tell you this. There's an inside or an indoor pet that I do hate. I could not care less to see dead cats.
What?
I can't stand a cat.
What do you mean? Cats are cute and cuddly and fluffy, and they rub on you and they climb your curtains. My cat right now is cute as can be, but he is destroying everything in our house.
I can't stand a cat. I'm
really?
telling you, man.
Now that is the narrative. Cole hates cats.
Oh, that's true narrative. That is a one. Plus, I'm allergic to them. Did you know that?
To cats?
Yeah. Yeah, I am.
What about hairless cats?
Hairless cats?
Would you hang out with a hairless cat? What if it had a great personality?
Like no hair.
Yeah, hairless cats. Sphinx cats. Have you ever seen a Sphinx cat?
Yeah, that's ugly.
Come on. Sphinx cats are awesome.
No, a cat's a cat. I don't want any. I cannot stand it. That is, look, it's very interesting to see people's love for their pets through the roof. You're right.
I mean, we ended up putting almost $4,000 on a credit card, which think about that. You're paying 15, 20, 25% interest on top of that. So now it's going to cost me like $5,000 to try to save our cat's life, which we ended up losing.
You're a better human being.
We ended up losing this cat, and it was just we thought we had medical insurance on the cat, but the friggin' pet insurance industry sucks more than the people insurance industry. That's like you got to pay up front, and then maybe they'll reimburse you after the fact. No, I wouldn't either, though. I wouldn't. I wouldn't give up.
Who do we have on the phone lines? Does it say?
Guy,
real quick.
I think this is Guy.
Before we run to a break, what's up, Guy?
Just wanted to comment. You talked about Kirk Herbstreit's dog. What about Mina Kimes?
What? Does she have a dog?
Oh, okay. No, you don't follow her show, I guess.
No.
Okay.
No, I really don't.
What about Mina's dog?
Yeah, what about it? Fill us in.
No, it's just the dog is a big part of her show.
I did not know that.
His name is actually in the title of the show.
Oh, that's too far.
Yeah, that's weird.
That's too far.
I didn't know that, guy.
It borders on unprofessional at that point.
I did not know. Thanks for the call, guy. I really did not know that. I know who Mina Kimes is, obviously, but I did not know she. Yeah, that's a little weird. I will say that's a little weird. Diesel, in the very next segment, you and I will, for the new Tolos that joined or are going to join at 5 o'clock, we'll give you the new lineup, the new celebrity lineup for the BMW Charity Pro-Am, but also we'll do a little news segment on this Tuesday. It's Truth or Trash Tuesday. That's next. Truth or Trash Tuesday. That's where we're going in this very segment. Is it truth or is it absolute trash? Is it absolute garbage? Tolos, you're invited to play along as well during this very segment. Get those texting fingers out at 844-FAN-PHONE, 844-326-3663. Welcome in to Wire to Wire, hour number 3 of the show. He's Diesel sitting to my right today, not across from me like normal, because John producing in the Fan Upstate Ingalls Market studios today. John will be producing tomorrow solo, while Diesel is out at Ingalls Markets in Spartanburg. Is that right?
Yeah, the Warren H. Abernathy Highway location of Ingalls.
I love it. Go out and see Diesel tomorrow. I'm leaving for out of town in the morning, so I won't be there. Diesel will be on the west side of the burg, so go hit him up on the. Hey, I'll tell you a secret. I don't know if I'm supposed to say this, but I'll say it anyways. I saw in promotions earlier a nice autographed Carolina Panthers football on the box for Evan tomorrow.
How about that? We have that, possibly a Fan Upstate hat, possibly a Fan Upstate t-shirt. I know we're going to have the Ingalls gift cards to give away as well if you're one of the first 5 Tolos to walk through the door. But Cole, so you're saying you're leaving on a jet plane and you don't know when you'll be back again?
I'm leaving on a jet plane. It's not JetBlue. It's not Spirit. So if I were flying one of those.
What's wrong with JetBlue?
Well, I mean, if I were flying one of those, I might not come back at all. I might not make it there.
No, JetBlue's fine. JetBlue's not a budget carrier, is it?
I don't know. I've always thought it. Just the name. It might not be. Just an Spirit.
I've only flown in a few. Spirit,
definitely.
Spirit, it's a gamble.
But I've flown Spirit many times. I really have. Real quick, before we get into Truth or Trash Tuesday, it was announced that Grant Horvat, YouTube golf star, has been announced as one of the new celebrities in the 2025 BMW Charity Program coming up next month. Other new celebrities include Ross Butler, TV and film actor Clint Dempsey. How about that? Former USA soccer player, Furman Hall of Famer. Hallie Ledbetter, social media personality.
I looked her up. Don't know her either.
I don't know Hallie.
Don't know Hallie Ledbetter.
J.R. Swish, former NBA champion. Steve Smith Sr., former NFL wide receiver. And Sean Thornton, who was a hockey player. People care about hockey. You come out and see.
Do you think he putts like Happy Gilmore?
It's a good question.
You know, I've told you 2 weeks ago, I played golf with Leprechaun of Lyman. We invited Madcraft. He had other things to do. He blew us off.
Shocker.
You know how like you're supposed to line up for a putt with the ball, like your feet relatively close together, the ball directly in front of you? Leprechaun of Lyman turns his body 45 degrees.
Oh, wow.
And then putts. He putts the way Happy Gilmore putts in the movie when he's got the No, he's terrible on the green.
So did you play golf with Leprechaun or his agent?
Played with his agent.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
He did get a phone call from the Leprechaun. I'm surprised the Leprechaun didn't come out of hibernation today with the news that Clemson and Notre Dame were scheduling a head-to-head series for the next 12 years.
Still got 2 more hours to go. Maybe Leprechauns didn't come out of hibernation. Diesel, we have 5 topics in this new segment titled Truth or Trash Tuesday. Tolos, if you just got in your car, if you just got in your truck, you're headed home, maybe you're headed to grab dinner with the family, whatever you're doing, you can play along. Do it safely. The Hub City Spartanburgers text line, it's open at 844-FAN-PHONE. That's FANFONE, 844-326-3663. The phone lines also can be open during this segment if we want to get wild. Same phone number, 844-FAN-PHONE, to call into the show. It's very simple, Diesel. We don't have to disagree like we do in the 5 o'clock fight. We may agree, we may disagree, but let's allow the Tolos to play along as well. Very simple, truth or trash with each of these 5 statements. The very first statement of the day is something we touched on earlier in the show, Diesel. Clemson, in case you missed it, has added Notre Dame to their football schedule in a agreement that will take place over the next 12 years, beginning in 2027. Truth or trash? Clemson has added a major boost to their schedule by agreeing to play Notre Dame and will no longer have to hear the weak schedule argument from Gamecock fans.
Oh, well, that's a 50-50 split. Did they make their schedule tremendously better? Yes, they did. Will they still hear the weak ACC argument from Gamecock fans, Georgia fans, from everybody? Yes, they will.
But should they? Should they have to? I mean,
they'll still, because they still get to play Wake Forest and Duke and the terrible bottom end of the ACC.
So the statement, no longer, Clemson fans will no longer have to hear the weak schedule argument. You say truth or trash?
That's trash.
Trash.
They'll still hear it.
Still hear it. You know what? When it comes to boosting the schedule, to your point, that they did boost their schedule. I think it's a tremendous boost. We talked about this in the 4 o'clock segment. As long as both programs stay relevant, right? Like if the texter turns out to be right, who texted in the 4 o'clock segment, Diesel, and said, "Oh, Clemson's on the decline." If that happens, or if Notre Dame falls on their face, which I don't think they'll do under Marcus Freeman, they were really good this year. If one of them decline, obviously this conversation is different, right? It's a different conversation. Yeah. If Notre Dame's, I don't know, 3-4, 3-5,
they better quit losing to Marshall then.
Oh man,
and Northern Illinois.
Northern Illinois, that's right. That's who it was. I was going to say New Mexico State, but Northern Illinois. So I would say to this, I would say trash as well, because South Carolina fans are going to always let Clemson fans hear it when it comes to their schedule. Listen, they added Notre Dame, but the bottom line is they're still in the ACC. They're still in the Atlantic Coast Conference, Diesel. Overall, big picture, their conference schedule is still not good.
Yeah.
Notre Dame's not in the conference. This really doesn't change the conference schedule. You know what I mean?
You know, since the ACC has gone divisionless, I think it would behoove Clemson especially, but Florida State as well. Louisville would be in this conversation to go to the ACC scheduling office and say, do what you can to schedule us as difficult a conference slate as you can. I mean, what is that really? Like 3 tough games a year? Truthfully, I mean, that's really just a round robin to make sure that Clemson and Louisville play each other year in and year out, to make sure that Clemson gets whoever the projected best team in the conference is going to be, or best 2 teams in the conference are going to be outside of that. That way they can't miss any of the tough opponents in their own league. They need every schedule boost they can get.
On the Hub City Spartanburgers text line, Kevin says, Diesel, why haven't I gotten an invite to play golf ball? Maybe you'll have to put a Tolo golf tournament together, Diesel, and find a sponsor for it. Sounds like a good idea. I'll run the concessions, maybe. I'll pass out hot dogs since I'm not a golfer. But
sell some beers?
Yeah, I mean, I'll help in any way that I can.
We played at a beautiful course in Moore that is not a sponsor of the station, so I can't say their name on the air. But they did not have a cart girl. Cole, you could be our cart girl.
What course?
I can't say. They're not a sponsor.
Oh.
They're not on the upstate golf cart.
More. Oh, I'm thinking.
You probably know.
Yeah. I got you.
Yeah,
I consider that Duncan. That's why I was thinking more. Yeah, you're right. It is a nice course. It is a very nice course.
Well, if you're on the west side of I-85, it's Duncan. If you're on the east side of I-85, it's Moore.
Oh, how about that? But those kids go to anyways. Lefty Tiger on the Hub City Spartanburgers text line says trash. Look at Lefty Tiger getting in on the new segment game. Notre Dame is not a powerhouse. That comes from Lefty Tiger.
Notre Dame makes the playoff. That makes them a powerhouse. You can. I mean, there's those people who are just biased, who are never going to come around and say this is a quality opponent.
Yeah, they're still a big enough brand, right? They're still.
Here's the problem, though. If you end up beating Notre Dame, let's just say this 12-year slate ends up being lopsided, and Clemson takes 9 out of 12. By the end of it, by the time you get into the mid-2030s, which I don't like the sound of that, Cole, because by the time we get to the mid-2030s, I'll be approaching 50.
Oh, God.
you may be saying, can we get out of this deal a little bit early? Because Notre Dame, you're not doing anything for us.
And I'm with you. Jeff R. texts the Hub City Spartanburgers text line. Shout out to Lefty Tiger, Kevin, Jeff R. all getting in on the segment. Jeff R. says it's just one game. Play a gauntlet and then come back to us. I like it, Jeff R. Tell them it's just one game.
But for South Carolina fans, Clemson's schedule will never be hard enough to be respectable.
Text a buddy of mine texts me personally and says, don't say my name. I don't want to get death threats, but South Carolina needs to realize they're at the bottom of the SEC, so they don't need to throw rocks at Clemson. Clemson has 3 national championships to South Carolina 0. I like it. All right, next on our new segment, Truth or Trash Tuesday. We both went trash on number 1, by the way. We talked to home team Brandon Leak in the last hour, Diesel, about the home team Atlanta Braves. The Atlanta Braves, Madcraft, I want to hear from you on this one. The Atlanta Braves will be a dangerous team come September. Truth or trash?
A dangerous team to who? The Mets or my liver? Because I think the answer to that question is trash. This team, I have no doubts that this team is going to be above 500, but probably hovering just about 500 or a couple of games above. I don't think this team is going to be able to put it together. There's so much inconsistency to get to the point where no matter who they play, they are the favorites to win. You know, without looking at their schedule, I don't know if they're going to play the Dodgers again later on in the season. I'm sure they will, or maybe they've exhausted that series. I don't know. But do we really think that they're going to get to the point in the season where if there's another 3-game series in Atlanta, we're saying the Braves are going to take 2 of these? No. So they're dangerous to the bottom half of Major League Baseball, but I don't think they're going to be dangerous to the top half.
This is a very tough one. I've actually gone back and forth on this one, Diesel, just in the last 2 minutes. I've gone back and forth. Can they be a dangerous team come September? I think they can. Will they be a dangerous team come September? I would probably, it's close. It's a close split. I would probably lean, though, Diesel, no, maybe 60-40 to the no. I would say trash, because you have to look at the overall makeup, DNA of a baseball team. And yes, they're going to get Acuna back. Yes, they're going to get Strider. And you know, Sean Murphy's been a big jolt, and Austin Riley's hitting the ball better. Can they? Yeah. But will they? If they go through some difficulties around the All-Star break and you really don't see them capture that momentum, I'm going to say no. I don't think they do. Look, it was a tough year last year for the Braves. Ultimately, I hope I'm wrong, but I think it might be another just subpar year, Diesel, this year. Number 3, numero tres, Paul Mainieri. This one's fun. Paul Mainieri, the head baseball coach at South Carolina, is the long-term answer for South Carolina. In an interview yesterday on 107.5 The Game in Columbia, Mainieri said, I'm not going anywhere. I'm totally committed to getting this program back on track and competing for championships. There's no conversation about anything. So truth or trash, Mainieri is the long-term answer. Maybe South Carolina fans just need to be more patient.
Well, what do we mean by long-term? 5 years? Because Paul Mainieri, he's an older. I mean, that's a legitimate question. He's an older coach.
No, it's true. 5 years is long-term for him.
5 years would be long-term.
5 days might be long-term for him. Is that
how old is Paul again?
I'm going to say off the top of my head, 64.
He is 67.
Okay.
So 5 years from now, he's going to be 72.
Yeah.
You don't hear about a lot of 72-year-old coaches in college baseball. You hear about it every now and again in college football, especially with the best of the best. No, he's not going to be the long-term answer. This is such an uphill climb to dig this South Carolina Gamecock baseball program out of the depths of the conference, second to last right now. Your only saving grace is that Missouri, couldn't find a win in a Cracker Jack box. They're 0-24 on the season. I mean, do we think South Carolina, the NIL collective, is suddenly going to pony up the cash to go buy a competitive roster, a top half of the SEC caliber roster for next year? No, I don't think that they are. And the fact that every coach in college baseball who's recruiting against South Carolina is going to say, look at him. He looks like the Crypt Keeper. It's cruel, but they'll say it. He's old. He's not going to stick around. Don't bother going there.
You're delaying the inevitable. In my mind, it couldn't be more trash. Look,
it is trash.
It is. It couldn't be. It's trash. The
real question is, are they going to be better off? Is the program going to be better off 3 years from now under Paul Maneri than they are right now?
I don't know that he'll be there. I don't think he'll be there in 3. I really don't. I don't think he will be. Number 4 on Truth or Trash Tuesday, and we'll get to the phone lines in just a few minutes. Ronald Acuna Jr. Diesel could come to Spartanburg, South Carolina.
So you'll stop for gas?
Huh? What am I talking about? The question is, truth or trash, could you see this happening? Ronald Acuna Jr. plays for who? What team? What major league team?
Braves.
The Atlanta Braves.
Yep.
The Atlanta Braves have a minor league baseball team called the Rome Emperors.
Okay.
Low on the totem pole when it comes to minor league, right?
But it's high A ball.
Right. In 2 weeks, the Hub City Spartanburgers host the Rome Emperors. Truth or trash? Ronald Acuna Jr. could have a night spent in Spartanburg, South Carolina.
Do we think the Braves are going to bust Ronnie all the way down to high A ball? Not a chance. Trash.
How great would it be for Spartanburg?
But why do the Braves want to help out Spartanburg?
Because they know we need help. I mean, come on.
No way. There's no way the Braves bust Ronnie all the way down to high A ball.
God,
Double A, maybe. Triple A is where he's going to stay.
You know how amazing that would be?
Well, yeah.
It'd be amazing.
It would cost $200 to get into that game.
Oh.
What is a ticket now? Is probably what, $40?
Yeah, a little cheaper.
Yeah, it would,
standing room.
They would think about that, quadrupling or more.
Oh, it'd be tough.
Ticket prices to get in. It'd be insane.
I'm gonna tell you something. I'd go. Look,
well, yeah.
I mean, Ronald. Look, it's a pipe dream, but I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna get in contact with Alex Anthopoulos and say, look, you need some good publicity. You need some good pub. Send Ronald to your new, or not his new. Send Ronald to the Rome Emperors to be showcased in a new ballpark. Well, it's the Rangers. He probably wouldn't do that. I know it's far-fetched. It's a pipe dream, but come on. How amazing would that be? Last one for you before we get to the phone lines. The NBA playoffs, Diesel, they're as wide open in my mind as they have ever been. We talked NBA at 4 o'clock. Truth or trash in the NBA, and this applies to other sports leagues as well, but truth or trash, not having star power eat up the headlines in the playoffs is a good thing for, in this case, the NBA because of the parity that you see this year in the NBA playoffs. Truly, anybody could win. It's not just the Cavs and the Warriors.
For the first time in today's segment, Cole, I'm going to say truth. To have LeBron, who is a phenomenal player, but also a gigantic distraction and a talking point that people just want to say he's old. Is he going to play anymore? If he loses, let's just pretend for a second the Lakers were still in this thing. Is he going to retire if they lose this series? To have that conversation out the door, and we're just focusing on how good Jalen Brunson is and how good Karl Anthony Towns is and how good Anthony Edwards and all these players. I think it's a great thing for the playoffs.
I think it's great. Parity is a great thing. So I'm gonna agree with you and say truth. Let's go to the phone lines before we run to a break. Who do we have?
Tom in Somerville.
Oh boy. This could get interesting.
Hey, Tom.
Hey, guys.
What's up?
Hey, so y'all were talking about baseball there for a minute, and then next thing I know, I thought I was at a hip-hop concert. But I want to say this real quick.
What are you talking about? Tom, what are you talking about?
Y'all were talking. The guy put me on hold. Y'all were talking, and then all of a sudden, mid-sentence, while you were talking, it just went to a commercial or something.
What?
And it was some kind of hip-hop music.
Strange.
But, yeah, I don't know. But we're back, and I want to say this. So it could always be worse, as we've seen with Missouri, but people always seem to forget this. But Ray Tanner's 2 of his first 3 years as the head coach of the baseball team, they did not make the NCAA tournament. Now, I know that was a long time ago, but people seem to forget that. And the more and more I think about it, Paul is going to get this program turned around, whether it's in 2 years or next year. It better be next year. But Paul is the man for the job. Paul's going to get it fixed. And we all need to come together, put our money in so the baseball team has some NIL, and then get this daggone thing turned around. Because this is not acceptable. Nobody should ever say otherwise. But Paul's going to get it fixed. We're going to get to winning baseball games soon. And before we all know it, we're going to be back in Omaha where we belong.
Oh, God.
Okay? So it's just going to take a little bit of time. But they're going to recruit the portal. They're going to get it fixed. And next year, we'll all be happy. We'll be looking back at this year, be laughing, and we'll be riding that broom all the way to the College World
Who's going to buy the tickets to Omaha?
Well,
You said you'll all be back in Omaha. I mean, how you getting there?
Well, I'll buy a plane ticket. I love Omaha.
I don't mean you, Tom. I mean the team, the baseball team.
Tom, I got to tell you, man, you make my neck sore listening to you ping pong back and forth between optimism and pessimism. Optimism that Paul's the guy. Skepticism that the Braves are going to be any good. Just back and forth, back and forth.
Hey, I ain't talking about the Braves. I'm talking about Paul Maneri and the South Carolina Gamecocks. Hey, Shane Beamer got some flack early on, and we saw you got to give him a little bit of time. He's going to get it fixed. And Paul's the same way. I mean, for goodness gracious, this baseball team lost their starting pitcher to a concussion because he got hit in the head by a home run ball in batting practice. If that ain't bad luck, I don't know what is. And obviously they lost their best player for the year. Granted, it don't matter because the season's done with.
Yeah.
But still, they've had a lot of just weird injuries with this team. And even if those guys are healthy, I don't think it changes that much with this team. But Paul will get it fixed. We'll be back in the postseason next year. And we'll be sitting there. We'll be asking when the College World Series starts. And we'll all be back in Omaha, baby. It's just got to be patient. You just got to be a little bit patient. And Gamecock fans, if anybody, should be able to tell you what patience is when it comes to sports. We've been waiting 100 years for something big to happen in football. It ain't going to happen, but we're still holding out hope every single year.
Are you drinking some of those Omaha Jell-O shots early, Tom?
Hey, you got some, I'll take some. That place is awesome. That place is awesome.
Appreciate you, Tom. That's a great phone call. Let's do this. Let's jump off to break. I know we got a caller who we're taking his information as we speak, but we're way past this break. Let's go to break. When we come back, we'll take this phone call. Looks like Matt in Spartanburg hang on the line for us. Hopefully we'll get Madcraft on the line as well. But we're going to have Cole. You remember a couple months ago we had the conversation about country singers and AI-generated voices writing songs? Well, now the NBA is doing it in their promos, and I think it's weird. I still think it's weird. I will always think it's weird. We'll play the audio for you next. That's coming up on The Fan Upstate. Cole, this is such a ridiculous lawsuit that I hope for our legal system that there's no way this is true or possible. A Colorado fan who apparently is remaining anonymous, who is identifying himself as John Doe, is suing the NFL for $100 million due to the emotional distress caused by Shadur Sanders dropping to the 5th round in the NFL draft.
That's not real. There's no way, right?
I mean, I
know.
Looked it up.
Oh my god!
It's like, can you anonymously sue someone in this country? Yes, you can.
Gosh.
You can legally do it. It's difficult to do. So I'm calling into question. I would probably put a trash rating on this story. No
truth
out of the gate.
However, that's so stupid.
However, this is I'm trying to this font on here is itty bitty. I know I'm getting old, but like, come on.
Yeah, you're
it's a little crazy. So I'm trying to get this to the point where I can read it a little clearer. So the party who is suing, which I think is the plaintiff, right? I'm not really up on my legal
watch Judge Judy
words anymore. They want a retraction of the slanderous statements made about Shadur Sanders, along with an apology for any harm caused to his reputation. They want implementation of fairer practices in the drafting process to ensure that talented players are recognized and given opportunities based on merit. They want punitive damages in the amount of $100 million for the harm caused to the plaintiff and the impact of the NFL's actions on his emotional well-being. They want any additional remedies the court deems appropriate, including compensatory damages. So the plaintiff requests that the court consider this complaint and take appropriate action to address the intentional emotional distress and trauma suffered as a result of the NFL's collusive practices and the harmful statements made regarding Shadur Sanders.
Interesting. I think it's a joke. They can't. But you know what? People in this world, in this society today,
sue for anything.
They're ridiculous. So I'm not surprised.
I mean, I'm surprised that Madcraft has not brought legal action against you, Cole Bryson, for your negativity and his words, silly goose behavior with regards to the Atlanta Braves and you lacking faith. Madcraft, welcome to the show.
Oh, hey, how y'all doing? Hey, listen, can I start this off just by talking to specifically Tom and nobody else real quick?
Sure. Do you want us to take our headphones off?
No, well, yeah. If
Everybody
you want to,
else turn the radio off too. Except
Tom,
for
listen,
Tom.
I know that I'm on the younger spectrum of things.
He's on a spectrum,
but
for sure.
I consider myself an old soul, and that wasn't hip hop. I would consider that probably more trap music. That was Jack Harlow.
What are you talking
about?
To it.
Maybe
dude, I don't know.
Lines must be crossed. He may be hearing the blocks.
Does John's log in?
Just us, and then all of a sudden, this guy came on. And he said, "Hey, man, we're gonna get it down." And then Jack Harlow started playing.
Strange. So the lines are crossed. You guys are hearing one of our sister stations as hold music instead of our station.
I think it's because John has
I was
both.
jamming over here. Listen, Tom, I don't know if I would consider that hip hop, but anyways, I wanted to get started here. I really wanted to call yesterday. I just didn't have the time, but I want y'all to know that while I didn't engage, I'm sorry, did you stop me?
I just said, or the minutes.
Oh, all right. Well, you hate dogs. John, watch out for him. But anyways, I wanted to call because I wanted to, there are two things. I wanted to challenge you and Diesel, and then I wanted to thank you. Okay.
God.
And I'm going to thank you first because I'm going to say that how you talked about the Braves, both of you yesterday, coming out of that Dodger series, that's all I've been asking for, man. Yeah, you criticized, you talked exactly what the problems were needed to happen, but never once did it seem like you were absolutely dogging the fates of anybody that backed the Braves. That's all that I was asking for.
What did I say? I don't even remember what I said.
Well, that gets me to my second part. That's my challenge. And my challenge is in your free time, maybe tonight, it don't have to be tonight, just whenever you can. I want you to go back and listen to y'all's opening of the show and the way you talked about the Braves in those segments. And then I want you to go back and listen to kind of the way that you talked about them 2 weeks ago.
When they sucked.
And just see if you can kind of see the difference that I'm talking about. Again, like I said, I'm thanking y'all. I appreciate it. I want to know
I have a question. Does the way in which we talked about them directly correlate with their on-the-field performance?
Okay. But do you want me to go down this rabbit hole with you?
Sure.
Let me sit down. Okay.
Don't get a headache, Madcraft.
No, listen. Well, listen. We have to do some thinking here.
Listen.
All right. The way that this works is that I am not saying. Think of it this way. All right. Would you imagine that if a team is not doing successful, and then all of a sudden their fan base goes from, okay, we had full out stadiums to now we're at 80%. Now we're at 70%. Now we're only packing the stadium like 50%. It's not quite as loud, right? The environment's not quite the same. However, I would argue that as a professional athlete, you are required to play 100% everything you got regardless. And I think that that's what happens in professional sports. I think that you're getting that 100%. However, what I'm arguing is that when you are, let's say, playing for the Yankees, and it's on a Tuesday, 4:00, and you're playing, some team from Texas that doesn't normally play that way, right? And it's Tuesday, 4:00, everybody normally around here or around Texas would be working, but New York, Yankee Stadium is packed out and it's loud. All right. Their environment is always good. And what I'm saying is that they're giving 100% of themselves. Well, now they can get juiced up almost to 110%. I'm saying it's a morale.
So,
it's a morale.
Madcraft.
I'm not saying that it's, yes.
Matt, I think you're getting a little confused here, and you're giving us a tremendous amount of credit to say that our tone and tenor talking about a team is what affects whether or not fans will go to a game. I would argue it's the team's play that decides if fans go to the game. If you're playing 300 baseball, your stadium is probably going to be 30% full. If you're playing 700 baseball, your stadium's going to be full. If you're playing somewhere in the middle, it's going to be somewhere in the middle. Fans will go to the games because the team is good, or they won't go to the games because the team is bad. I don't know that we have the ability to affect whether or not fans from Greenville drive all the way to Atlanta 3 hours and fight that traffic to go see a game.
Okay, Diesel. When you start the season off not as good as you would have hoped, again, we've already had that discussion. I'm not going to go into it. We played two powerhouses in the Dodgers and the Padres. We don't have to go into that. But when you start the season off not as good as you were expecting with a team that you believe to be good, all right, and then the only things that you can do is, again, I challenge you. I want y'all to go back and listen to the differences in the way that y'all talked about, even though the Braves lost the series, all right, it should have been a big negative factor, really. But you saw the positives in something, and y'all had never done that from the start of the season. My point being is that does, in fact, dictate sometimes, or for a good majority of people. For example, I'm not going to take my family. We may have been planning to go to a Braves game,
but you're not now.
Let's say all of a sudden they didn't start good, right? And then all of a sudden, I'm hearing all these people on the radio and all the people on the talking heads going, "Man, this team sucks. This team sucks." Well, then I go, "Well, God, in a month from now, they're probably still going to suck. Maybe. Well, I'm not going to go buy tickets. So in a month from now, the team could be playing better, but they may still not have the same morale that they could be having from the beginning." And I'm saying the teams like the Dodgers, man, in LA, they can play a 1 o'clock game they could play an 11 a.m. game on a Monday and have that packed out stadium. Now, Atlanta is capable of doing that, but a lot of people probably aren't right now. And I'm saying a lot of it came down to the fact that a lot of people were disappointed in their play. But I don't think that we should be disappointed in the play. We should be disappointed in the fact that they just didn't start off the same way that they needed to.
Madcraft,
My only argument. Yeah, go ahead.
We've got to run to a break. Real quick, what's the ride at the fair that you get on the horse and go in a circle? What is that called? I forget. Diesel, help me out. The ride,
merry-go-round.
Merry-go-round. That I feel like I'm on a merry-go-round right now. I just circles and circles. If you're not going to games because of me, I don't know what to tell you.
I'm not saying you. I'm not saying you specifically. I'm saying it's the think about the way that the morale is from all of the people.
Well,
it's like,
look, it is incumbent upon us, Madcraft, to talk about the team in a way that accurately reflects how they're playing at the time. If the team sucks, we're not going to pump sunshine
because the team's better.
Yeah, if the team sucks, we're not going to pump sunshine. And if the team is great, and we're just over here being flat out critical all the time, it's disingenuous, and the people understand that.
I think what you're missing, Matt, is, especially me, I don't want to speak for Diesel, my feelings and opinions on the Atlanta Braves are going to change every single week. They play 160.
Change every pitch.
Yeah, they play 160 something games. I'm not going to sit here and say, "Oh, they're a really good team right now" when they're 0-9. I'm not going to do it.
Well, I didn't do that either, though, Cole. But I also didn't go, "Oh man, this team sucks. They're not going to win nothing."
At that time, they suck.
I challenge you. Go get your receipts.
Okay.
I challenge you. Go back and look, and we'll have a discussion next time. Next time, go listen to what you said. Okay?
I will. I'll do it. And
appreciate the phone call, Madcraft.
Yeah, we got to run.
Well, I hesitate to say great phone call.
I said they sucked. Guess what? At the time, they sucked.
It's a reflection on how they're playing at the time, not a reflection on
how good
the team as a whole. They have the potential to be good, but they suck right now.
That lady out there in the parking lot is 474 pounds. She's fat. A year from now, when she sticks that thing in her butt and takes that Ozempic pill, that Ozempic, guess what, Diesel? She may not be 475.
Is that how you do Ozempic?
You stick it in your butt.
Oh.
But guess what? I don't know. I don't take Ozempic.
I think you mean you stick it in her thigh. Thigh, not in her butt.
I think you stick it in her butt cheek.
Cheek. See,
yeah,
you got to be more specific.
Look, I'm saying the lady in the parking lot, my point is the 475-pound well in the parking lot is fat today. A year from now, after she takes Ozempic, guess what? She won't be fat anymore. But what I said about her being fat at the time, it's still true. She was fat, and now she's not. The Braves, they sucked. They're playing better. It's as simple as that.
Texter says, "Wow, Madcraft sounds like Charlie Brown's teacher." Wah 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 wah. That comes from John Dog. Another texter says, "Let's start talking about the Hurricanes, who are playing tonight. By the way, second round of the NHL playoffs. Are you going to be watching? Cole?
Not Miami. No.
No. Oh, come on.
No.
It's playoff hockey.
Sorry, I'm not doing it. But we are doing the Daily Wires next. We have gone in depth, but now it's time to take a broad look at what's happening in the world of sports. We do it every day. It's our Daily Wires.
Bzzz.
The buzz of what's happening. Clemson baseball back in action tonight. Diesel in Conway, South Carolina, taking on Coastal Carolina. We mentioned this game earlier. First pitch, 6 o'clock. You had about 13 minutes between the Tigers and Chanticleers.
Top 15 team, Cole.
Yes.
Number 9 going to number 15. This is a toss-up, honestly.
In the previous matchup, Coastal defeated Clemson 8-2 in Clemson in March. So Clemson, look, this is a big game tonight. I mean, a big one for Clemson baseball.
Must win, honestly.
No doubt. No midweek games for South Carolina. Palmineri had some, old people things to do during the middle of the week, like old people do. So he couldn't play any midweek games.
They had to make the early bird special at the K&W.
That's right. I'm kidding. They really don't have midweek games, though. They play number 8 Auburn this week, and the Gamecocks do. Last night in the NBA, the Knicks defeated the Celtics 108-105. We talked about that in the 320 segment today. The Nuggets defeated the Thunder 121-119. Atlanta Braves have won 2 games in a row. Atlanta, it's because we talked positively about them. Atlanta defeated Cincinnati last night 4-0 to improve to 16-18 on the season. Diesel, A.J. Smith, Shaver last night, shoving away.
Monster.
He was sensational for the Braves. That was probably one of the biggest bright spots thus far this season. 8 innings pitched, allowed 1 hit. I mean, it was sensational. I mean, it was a really nice night for the Atlanta Braves. The Big 12's board of directors has agreed to a 3-year contract extension with Commissioner Brett Yormark, sources told ESPN. Clemson and Notre Dame.
Remember we thought the Big 12 was like the next one to fall apart?
Mm-hmm.
When we thought the Big 12 was going to go the way that the ACC has gone, I mean, can the ACC throw a tremendous amount of money at Brett Yormark to get him out of there, to pull him to the ACC? Because they have let the Big 12 punk them with a lesser product.
Yeah. By the way, I did want to read this text. T Experience on the Hub City Spartanburgers text line said, just put me in the ring already with Mad Dash, please. Why do we always come away from his conversations feeling dizzy? Says T Experience. I didn't say that. T Experience did, Matt. Diesel, we talked about this earlier in the show as well. Clemson and Notre Dame's set for a 12-year partnership. It's officially official. It's Facebook official. A scheduling agreement that will put the 2 college football powers against each other through 2038. The Tigers and the Irish have a recent history of marquee showdowns, last meeting in 2023 when Clemson won 31-23. And with this new agreement, both schools are looking at this as maybe the start of a top-tier rivalry, Diesel.
And the Clemson-Notre Dame series gave us this gem.
We give you nice uniforms. I can't give you guts, and I can't give you heart. And tonight, hey, it was BYOG, bring your own guts.
Without Notre Dame, Dabo Swinney wouldn't have dropped that gem on us.
Still one of the best quotes. That's a good one. 5-star passer Jared Curtis, the number 1 quarterback in the 2026 class, announced his commitment to Georgia. In case you missed that, last night he chose Georgia over Oregon. It went down to the wire. He initially committed to Georgia in March. He reopened it in last October. He's the number 5 overall recruit in the 2026 ESPN 300. So a big get for the Bulldogs.
They found some money down there in Athens, huh?
Shook some couch cushions and found some cha-ching. I like this one. This one's really cool, Diesel. This one gets me excited about maybe potentially one of the coolest NFL drafts we've ever seen. The District of Columbia will shatter attendance records when hosting the NFL draft. It's believed Washington Commanders owner Josh Harris and NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell predicted during a news conference at the White House calling it a million fan 3-day march. Harris said, I believe we'll get over 1 million people. Whoa. Have you seen the pictures for this?
No.
Oh my word. The mock Diesel, the backdrop is the U.S. Capitol building.
Okay.
And it looks phenomenal. The NFL I'm going to try to grab it quickly for the stream, but the NFL posted these pictures on Twitter, and I found it. I'm going to share it with you very shortly, but we're going to see the NFL draft do something in Washington that we may not have ever seen before in terms of attendance. If you're watching the stream, if you're not, you hop in. If you're watching the stream, this is what it's supposed to look like when the NFL and the city of Washington, D.C., if you will, link up together and host the NFL draft. I am efforting the picture now, and I know this is great radio as I'm doing this, Diesel, but this is worth showing because of how cool this could potentially be. Maybe the greatest backdrop ever in the history of the NFL draft. And I know, look, the NFL draft in Washington this past year, or in Green Bay, Wisconsin, was kind of odd. It was still a huge turnout. But if you think that turnout was big, just wait till you see what they have mocked up. Here it is now on the stream. Sorry for my delay. For those of you Tolos watching, here's what they have mocked. This could be incredible. I mean, look at that backdrop.
Wow.
Is that not amazing?
That's huge.
Diesel, look at that. The Capitol building in the background. I mean, how cool is – I mean, let's drive up there. Let's drive up.
Let's get it sponsored. How about that?
It's only a 6-hour drive to Washington, D.C., 6.5, 7 hours.
That's almost as long as the phone call we just had with Madcraft.
It is. It is. I'm telling you, man, I'm excited about this as an NFL fan. That picture right there, man, if you're watching the stream, that's really cool. I think that has the potential to be really fun. Last one for you. The 20-year-old man who fell from the top of PNC Park has a long way to go, but he is making slow progress. I lied. One more for you in case you missed it. Clemson baseball dropped to number 9 in the latest D1 baseball poll. They were previously number 3. Those, ladies and gentlemen, are your Daily Wires.
When we come back, we didn't get a chance. We teased it, but didn't get a chance to get to it. The NBA going to feature AI-generated voices on promos. Is this weird? Is it okay? Do we love it? Do we not even care? That conversation next on the Fan Upstate. Cole, does the name Jim Fagan ring a bell?
Jim Fagan's name does ring a bell, yes.
You may know him as the voice of NBA promos for years. He's been the voice of NBA promos. Or for years he was. Let me rephrase that, because Jim Fagan is no longer with us. Until the NBA got a voice print of Jim Fagan, and with the permission of Jim Fagan's family, he's back. He's back in the booth recording promos, except it's not him. It's fake him. We had this a couple months ago. We had was it Travis Tritt?
Randy Travis.
Yeah, we had Randy Travis audio, and the technology was so good that you couldn't tell. Like, maybe if you were listening to the isolated vocal track, you might be able to hear like the little things that give it away that this was not real audio, that this was essentially composite audio. But this audio here, Cole, I want you to tell me, is this real or AI?
All right.
The NBA on NBC is back. See you this October for the NBA season tip-off.
There's nothing in that audio that sounds like AI to me. Nothing.
But yet it is. None of that was real.
Insane.
None of that was real. And this
close.
Freaks me out. It freaks me out. Number one, it freaks me out because, I mean, what if this technology could be used? I mean, not what if, it could be used to get anyone to say anything you want them to say.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you could have any celebrity, any political figure, anybody say, if you've got enough audio to analyze and you've got a good enough computer and you've got the right technology, the right computer programs to analyze it and then turn it into new audio, you can have anybody say anything and you would never be able to tell the difference.
That piece of audio is like, I literally obviously knew it was AI, but I tried to listen. If you have it again, I tried to listen with the intent of like being able to say, oh yeah, I could tell. I really wanted to be able to say, oh, I could tell it was AI. I'm telling you, and we'll try again. Tolo's included. Let's try again to see if we can actually critique, like actually tell.
Yeah.
The NBA on NBC is back. See you this October for the NBA season tip-off.
That's it.
I mean, it sounds...
You can't tell.
Like, don't get me wrong. His voice is immaculate.
Yeah.
Like, he has an incredibly gifted talent. Or had. But I'm just telling you, I don't know that you can...
There's only one little spot that I can hear. And granted, it's towards the beginning. I'll play it for you. But there's a spot where two words, they don't flow in a normal pace. It's like the second word comes faster than it should.
Yeah.
And like you could also do this. You could also do this with just regular audio editing, right?
Yeah.
Let's just say this was a real recording of somebody saying these words. You could edit and do the exact same thing with just removing a little bit of time. So here we go.
The NBA on NBC is back.
The NBA on NBC is back. There's just something about that little transition.
NBA on NBC is back.
And there's just something about that is the only thing that I catch in the entire clip that sounds fake. Here we go one last time.
The NBA on NBC is back. See you this October for the NBA season tip-off.
That's insane.
It's crazy.
See you this October. I mean, it is. Now, when you and I did our AI back a year ago, ours didn't sound remotely close to that. Remember the promo, the segment we did?
Yeah.
It was funny.
Do you still have your voice print on there? I could get it to say that you hate dogs.
Yeah, I know you could. Trust me. I know you. I mean, it's still funny. And like that was over a year ago when we did. How do you even do that? You have to hit it 3 times.
The technology has gotten better from there.
Is that right?
Yes, you tap it 3 times. It brings up a little keyboard. Type to speak.
Mine doesn't do that, Diesel.
Maybe I changed. Maybe I applied the shortcut and you didn't.
Yeah. Again, this is a new phone, and I remember when we did it, and it was funny, but it wasn't like you and I. Like, we couldn't have taken that audio and not done the show because it was so obvious it wasn't us. Like that audio you just played. There's no way you can tell. That's what's so concerning about it. There's absolutely no way. You have it?
Denby Cole is never going to set his NASCAR fantasy lineup.
See, it sounds better than it did before.
It sounds like you. It does sound like you, but there's that robotic part of it.
You can tell. See, this is the cheap consumer grade version of the tech. What the NBA has is way beyond what we have access to.
Why don't we have that, though?
Because we would abuse it, and full well.
I want access to it.
We could say, hey, we're going to bring on Adam Silver in the next segment and do an interview completely AI. We would just have to write. We could have Chat GPT respond to our questions in a way that Adam Silver would respond, and then we could plug that text back into the Adam Silver voice sim.
So now that
and it would sound like we were actually interviewing Adam.
Now that I have a new phone, I have to remember that.
Oh, you got to do it again.
Yeah,
that sucks.
I'm not gonna do it. Remember how long that did? It take like all night.
It took like 30 minutes to do all of the voice recordings, and then it took hours and hours to process the information and still come out with a pretty weak sounding AI version of us.
So number one, it is scary. Number two, I will say I was a little bit behind times on the Chat GPT app. Mm-hmm. I probably downloaded it like 2 or 3 months ago, and I use it like crazy.
Right?
Like I had no idea, and it's still in that same atmosphere, right? With the generated voice. I had no earthly idea that I would use AI. Look, for fun, but also for work stuff. Like I showed you last week some of the goofy pictures it makes, right? That's fun. But for my small business, Diesel, what you can ask Chat GPT to do for your small business in terms of like streamlining stuff, marketing, it's unbelievable. It is absolutely unbelievable. So I'm a fan of it. Look, it's scary to the point of if it gets in the wrong person's hands. I'll tell you this. This is a good example. I watched. I'm a big crime show fan, right? I love crime shows. I can't remember what the name of the show was, Diesel. If it was SWAT or if it was like a random crime show I was watching about 6 months ago. I want to say it was SWAT or something like that. But they had a video of a man committing murder on footage, right, from a CCTV camera at a loading dock or something. They bring the man in, they charge him for murder, and guess what? You can see his face clear as day. It looks just like you in that screen right there.
Yeah.
But guess what? It wasn't. It wasn't him.
It wasn't real.
It wasn't real. It was AI generated. Well, the facial.
Here's how we'll know that CCTV of somebody committing a crime when is AI, when you can actually see their face clear as day, because it's 2025. Yet somehow every time there's video on the news of somebody robbing a convenience store or doing this or doing that, it's always blurry as hell and it looks like the cameras are from the 80s.
Well, that's true. They don't install good GSP security cameras. That's the problem. I will say this, though.
Gotta call Cole.
That's right. Diesel, what you just said, though, about the voice, the voice stuff doesn't make me know. I think it's pretty cool. The video side of it, though, I think is where it gets a little hairy.
Look, look, we work in the audio medium. We work in the audio space. All it takes is here's low camera angle footage. Remember, I think it was the 2016 presidential election when Hillary Clinton did the whole like basket of deplorables thing.
Yeah, I think so.
And it was like low angle footage. Somebody was on their phone recording, and it wasn't a direct in Hillary's face, her saying this thing, right? So it was behind closed doors. This was not information that other people, that audio that a lot of people were supposed to hear.
It's
what
funny.
if you could recreate that low angle? It looks like somebody had like just taken their phone out of their pocket to record some video. So the video isn't intentionally bad, but then you overlay it with AI audio of somebody saying something that they didn't say.
Yeah.
And then you could incite some really, really bad things.
You could. Did you see speaking of Hillary Clinton, did you see the one? So this is a funny story. I saw this on maybe I was scrolling through Reels or TikTok. A news reporter, and this was relevant to the conversation we're having right now. This happened like a day ago. A news reporter asked President Trump about his picture of him dressed up as the Pope when he joked about maybe he could be the next Pope.
Mm-hmm.
And the question was like, you think that's appropriate for you to dress up as the Pope? And President Trump had to tell the reporter, like, I didn't dress up as the Pope. That's called AI.
Yeah.
I can't believe in the world we live in, the reporter didn't know that. But
well, he also thought that the letters MS-13 were actually tattooed on the guy's knuckles, which that was photoshopped. So the expert on AI doesn't understand Photoshop.
I'm not saying he's an expert. I'm not making this political or anything. I'm
right,
just saying
right.
It's funny that the news stations are you can't even.
Well, they believed it. They thought it was. Oh my god!
Yeah, they thought
idiots
they were
everywhere.
trying to criticize him because he was dressed up as the Pope. It's AI is scary, man. Like ChatGPT.
Yeah.
It can do a lot of crazy things, but
well, what I'm really upset about this whole Jim Fagan AI voice thing is it's taking away the opportunity of somebody in the future to become the next voice of NBA promos.
Well, yeah.
So like, I don't know. I mean, I recognize the voice. I know I've heard the voice before, but if Jim Fagan, let's say he had a 10-year career being the voice of NBA promos, and they just say, you know what? We want to keep using Jim Fagan for the next 30 years, all AI-generated voiceover work. That takes away voiceover work from somebody who is potentially really talented. What if they're better than Jim Fagan? I mean, it's a scary world, Cole, in that we're taking away potential opportunities from other AI talent.
No, I'm 100%
from other
with you
non-AI talent. Is
because look, there are a lot of people who do a really good job with voice work and other things. There's no doubt about that. I'm 100% with you, especially when it comes to broadcasting. Like, you know how hard it is to get into broadcasting and call games.
Yeah.
Imagine if, 10, 15 years down the road, we hear Jim Nantz calling, the Masters or whatever it is, and Jim Nantz is long gone. He's deceased.
I mean,
but
we could
somebody
have
out there wanted Jim Nantz to call the Masters in 2047, so AI Jim Nantz was calling the Masters.
Yeah, I mean, people love the way Dick Vitale calls college basketball. A couple years from now, if I mean, it's going to happen eventually, right? But let's just say Dick Vitale's cancer comes back and he passes away, and now all of a sudden you got Dick Vitale in his 1990 glory calling college basketball games in 2040. And it's scary because, again, you're taking away opportunities from other talented people.
Sure.
And then you're eroding the business more and more every time you replace a young voiceover talent. Look, I mean, it's a promo for an NBA game. It's not rocket science. You're not changing the world. Does it really matter who voices the promo as long as they're not terrible?
No, I'm with you.
You know?
On that. It is sad from that aspect. One piece of audio before we run to a break, I want to react to, Diesel. This is like very new audio. This just came through moments ago. John, if you will, cue up the audio that I sent you. It is Pulmonary Diesel being asked hours ago, live in a press conference, about his job status. They had obviously a media availability today, and you didn't get the email. That let me check my phone. My apologies on that, John. I thought I sent it to you, but you didn't get the email. So, anyways, I will try to effort that, Diesel. But he was asked again. I'm going to resend it to John. He was asked about his job status and his media availability today. I'm working on it right now. And he was very clear that there is no, questions about his media or about his job status, that he is going to remain as the coach.
That's fascinating that he's defensive about it. I mean, there's a pride thing that's going to kick in with Paul at some point, and it sounds like it already has. Yeah. Of look, you brought me in here to fix this thing. You guys are expecting the world and a turnaround in the toughest conference in college baseball in a year. It ain't going to happen in a year.
No, and look, I know we spent a lot of time talking about it. While we are, and again, I'm trying to get this audio to you, John, while we are very critical, very hard on Paul Mainieri, the SEC is as tough as it's ever been. I mean, it's a tough conference, man. So, like, I get it. I know that South Carolina fans, they want to win, and they want to win now, right? That's the way it should be. But the reality is, in a conference, used to before the transfer portal, Diesel, you were given plenty of time. You were given opportunities to get your guys in, recruit the way you were supposed to. But nowadays, in the world of the transfer portal, man, you're not given time. And I guess maybe that's going to be the downfall if he were to be fired, is that in the new portal era of college baseball that he's not used to, maybe that's what will get him fired ultimately, is that his adaptation to the portal just isn't up to speed enough to be able to come in and hit the ground running and turn this program around. Somebody out there could. Is that somebody Paul Mainieri? Maybe it is, maybe it's not.
But it's hard to say that coach is going to be found in the body of a 67-year-old man.
No, I'm with you there. And that's the hard part, right? You did get it, John? Okay, we are efforting this audio. Again, this is just in hours ago from Paul Mainieri. After practice. If you just click the video, John, and it should pull up. If you see the video playing on your computer screen, it should play through a computer.
I mean,
there we go. Will you start it over
from the beginning? Nobody is. What situation? I mean, I'm the coach at South Carolina. Nobody has told me anything different or implied anything different. And I'm totally committed to being here, and I want to see this thing get on the tracks in the right way. And I've been through this before. My first year at LSU was, equally as difficult. And Terry and I went out. We recruited a great class that first year while we were, grinning and bearing it through the first year. And the next year, we started slow. We took a while to gel. And then we ended up winning the West and going to Omaha, as a national seed. And the next year we won the national championship. I'm not guaranteeing that's going to happen, but I'm not, look, this season's been hard for everybody. I thought we would do better.
I thought we would do better. Yeah, pretty much everybody thought you would, Paul.
But he's saying the right things there. He's saying, look, when I got to LSU, we had a tough start. Then we had a slow start to the second season, but we turned it around. We won the West. We went to Omaha. He's trying to tell South Carolina fans, pump the brakes, slow down, be patient, give me some time. I get it. I mean, if you were a 500 in SEC play or a couple games below 500 in SEC play, I think people will give you a lot of grace. The problem is you're god awful in SEC play.
100% at the season, Diesel, like a lot of close games. You win some, you lose some. We're not having this conversation right now, but they are god awful. They do suck. Like Madcraft didn't want to admit with the Braves in the first two. They aren't good. They're getting demolished, and I think that's the hard part. Hey, we had a fantastic conversation with home team Brandon Leak back in the 4:00 hour about the Falcons, about the Braves. Man, you don't want to miss this. If you missed it in the 4:00 hour, turn it on and leave it on. Home team Brandon Leak. That's next.